paradox jump scare for a moment there. So, you're finally alive.
Hello.
Oh, there is another chair over there if you want one. As a treat.
As a special treat, you will be allowed to sit down.
Yes. We should probably turn on some lights as well.
Yes.
This is another one of those days where we had all the time in the world and we squandered it all, and now we're just like, oh shit, we better go live. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome to the show.
Have you confirmed that, either of them work?
Oh, the mics, yes, we have mics. However, we are
have
apparently
microphones.
Yeah,
Good.
We are
good.
apparently a little bit soft, and we are now a little bit overexposed because you set up with the lights off.
Probably.
But yeah, hello. How are we all doing? Right. Dana. I'm going to stay still so I can be a focal target. Meese. Did I say meese? I meant mice. You're making me second. Did I spell it wrong? No, I didn't spell it wrong.
I must squint aggressively.
Well, I'd taken off my glasses to clean them and then tried to read text. So, yeah, and one of my eyes is wrecked and the other one is bad. So if I close the wrecked one, then I can kind of sort of see. It's not super wrecked, but better than the other.
Oh!
Anyway, hello. Yes, how are we all doing? My face is now in focus. And hello, PC plebs and others, indeed. Right. We're on an alien planet wearing red shirts. We actually both are red-shirted, yes. This is true.
Have you know this is mauve?
Mauve.
I don't know.
Mauve. Yeah.
I don't know. Actually,
Burgundy.
It's red wine. I don't know.
It's a nice shade. I like it. I shouldn't wear this shirt on camera because it just goes. But yeah.
I mean, it's reasonably contained.
It pops. I'm the main character.
Congratulations. Well done. You did it.
Indeed. Good. Right. Yes. Hello. How are we all doing? There's a lot of mice jokes occurring. I'm trying to find somewhere to put this to just go somewhere else.
The table in front of you?
Well, it's it's got old water in it. Fine. Also, that needs to go up somewhere. I took this down and then didn't put it back up again. It's the Adamant IT square. Right, let's go in. That lives there now.
I still think we need to put massive amounts of lipos in the back.
Yeah, we need to lipo those for no discernible reason. I need to take apart. I need to salvage a laptop battery so I can get like a couple of 2 amp hour cells or something that will power it for like a week or something.
Yes.
So yeah, we still need to do that. Yes. Anyway, yeah. Right. Show. This is a podcast where we will talk about tech.
That's technology related. It even has Wi-Fi.
It is. It's just I don't know. Right. However, why not lipo it today and start on it? Well, yeah, we're not going to start on it. However, that's a thing that we could do, actually, because, like, I probably have everything that's actually required to do it lying around. So, yeah. But yes, we will consider this. First, I want to fix this hecking mouse because this is my daily driver on the repair bench, and the scrolling doesn't work properly on it, and it drives me potty, it does. So, yes. Basically, when you're scrolling with it, particularly if you're just scrolling down, which is the direction that most people tend to scroll in most often, like every fourth or fifth click of the wheel, it will move up a line instead of down a line. So the page is going, and it's just it's maddening because obviously you do it in sort of scrub. So it's sort of like every third scrub will take you back the wrong direction, and it's maddening. So yes, I've got that, and I've got there they are.
I have parts.
Yeah, I've got 2 new rotary encoders. we only need one of them, but I bought two because never not. Like the cost is irrelevant. It's the delay in getting them delivered because that was AliExpress, so it took about 3 or 4 weeks for them. But yeah, I forget how much they cost. They weren't expensive though, like two quid or something like that. I don't know.
Is it not got an optical encoder?
I don't think so. No, I think optical encoders are old hat.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they use the rotary encoders now.
I see.
I might be wrong. It might not be the right one. I just Google searched G603 Hero encoder, and they were just like, yeah, 7mm encoder. And I think when I looked that up on AliExpress, it was just like Logitech insert list of model numbers here kind of thing.
I see.
So I'm assuming it's correct. So yeah, isn't 3 the minimum buy? 1 to mess up, 1 to fix, and 1 spare. Yeah, that's why I always buy 2 at the very least, just so if I make a complete hash up of one, I've got another. But part of me wants to have spares, but the other thing is just no matter how many ones you have spare, you never have the one that you need. So yeah, I don't know. I probably should have bought a couple anyway, but we'll see. Right. So yeah, failing code of the mouse tend to replace those a bit. Yes, indeed. And yeah, floor lamp is also like, isn't it a plastic part moving over the sensor? It depends on the mouse. The older ones are always optical, but yeah, as I say, I think the newer ones use these mechanical encoders. So why not just buy a new one? I mean, I like this mouse other than that. And yeah, if you got the means, if you got the ability to fix it, why not? Like a good, a not terrible mouse is what, 30 quid, 40 quid?
Something like that.
For a bog standard mouse that isn't terrible. And yeah, it seems like a pity to chuck it out just because the scroll wheel's a bit naff. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still watching the 4-hour WAN show from last night. Yeah, WAN show is like 4 hours these days because they just do lots of waffle, which is fine if it works for them. But yeah, I was watching WAN show earlier on. Bit of a boring one this week. There wasn't a lot of topics I was particularly interested in. So yeah, not implying that, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, sometimes I wonder why any of you are here. So anyway.
Why are you here? Says the content creator.
Oh yeah, other thing to talk about as well is we're going to talk about microphones. Did we mention last week? Did we talk about what was wrong with these last week? No. Okay. So the microphones that we used, these are Rode Wireless Go 2 mics. And you have expertly hidden your cable, by the way, sir. I'm quite impressed. I forgot to charge them, so both of us are powering our mics from the biggest power banks we had. Hi, this is my 20 amp hour power bank to power my lapel mic. And what's that one? Is that 20 as well?
I think it's 999 watt hour. Yeah. No, okay. 86.4.
Okay, I don't know what mine is in watt hours.
86.4 watt hour.
Oh no, this is 92. Mine's bigger.
Yeah.
Just saying, But yours is fancier. Yours has got a screen on it and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It tells you how much it's drawing and stuff like that. Anyway, so I forgot to charge the mic, so we're sitting on obnoxiously large things. Rode is an Australian brand, but they've got an accent on the O has the cross through it, so I don't know what the deal with that is.
It also tells you like the total watt hours ever consumed. And just stuff like
Your
that.
Your power bank has an odometer.
Yes.
So anyway, we forgot to charge the mics. So the mics, Rode Wireless Go 2, my one has tape on it because the battery on it is bulging. So I have a small IED at my throat, which seems pretty safe.
It's also got auto-rotate on the screen.
This is the problem with Internet of Things, is we've got a lot of devices that just have built-in sensors that don't need built-in sensors, but it costs nothing to put them in. So anyway, Rode Wireless Go 2s, this one, the battery is bulging. And so I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to replace that. And Caradog was just like, well, when did you buy those? Are they still in warranty? And I was like, oh, yeah, they are actually. They're about 18 months old. And so they've got a 2-year warranty on them because Amazon. So we're sending them back because it's fundamentally broken, and we're going to buy different microphones. So we were going to browse microphones to buy today.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes, it took me forever to work out Rode was not a Danish company, with Rode being the Danish for red.
I see. Yeah, it's a Danish O.
It's a as far as I'm aware, it's a Scandinavian letter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is Denmark Scandinavian?
I believe the wider region was at some point called Scandinavia or something, because they were slowly lumping in more.
I was going to say
more and more countries, and then Latvia got involved, and then Scotland got involved, and
Scotland.
It's complicated. See, it's not just me.
Scotland is just like, you know, can we be like Nordic and Viking instead of British? Because man, calling a Scotsman British is a dangerous thing to do.
Yes,
it's just like technically, but don't say it. It's like it's true, but you shouldn't say it. You know, so
it's okay. It could be worse. You could call them English.
I'm not suicidal. Yeah. I'm not suicidal because I'm pretty certain that there's a Glaswegian out there that could throw a glass at me from Glasgow, just across the UK, you know, and it would hit me with enough force to do damage still, you know. So anyway, so yes. At any rate, I have. Can you get away with flippantly saying that Irish and Scottish are the same? I don't think they're offended by that because Gaelic is the native language of both countries, isn't it? Or is that a spicy take? Did I?
How long do we have?
So these are Rode Wireless Go 2 mics, and my one is failing, and so we're going to send this one. We're sending these ones back because the battery is failing and it's under warranty. I've already been issued a refund, so I've got 208 British sterlings to spend on a new set of wireless mics.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I think the ones that we really want are going to cost more than that, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, like the ones that we had our eyes on were the DJI equivalents of these, which look really heckin' nice, but also they're 280 quid, and I'm like, that's a lot of money to spend on microphones. So yes. You guys know if Amazon US is a scam, as in Amazon.com. But yeah, like if it's not Amazon.com, then it ain't Amazon.
Unless it's .co.uk or .de.
Yes, but yeah, when you say Amazon US, that would be Amazon.com. But also, like, Amazon Marketplace is a thing as well. Just because you bought it from Amazon doesn't mean it was fulfilled by Amazon. So that means you can be buying just from some random guy who is selling via Amazon Marketplace effectively. And in that point, it is essentially the same rules as eBay.
But yeah,
there are buyer protections.
But you still get the Amazon A to Z buyer protection.
Yeah. So theoretically, you should be fine. But it does mean that you might get a product that just isn't what it says it is. Also, some people just sell tat on Amazon, you know.
Also, if you've already live chatted Amazon and Amazon say it's Amazon, then it's probably Amazon.
Yeah.
You've already answered your question by asking Amazon if Amazon is Amazon and Amazon saying Amazon is Amazon.
Yeah.
It's Amazon. There is no further conversation to have that.
But also like an i5 12600 for 175 quid. I mean, if it shows up and it's an i5 12600, then yeah. 175 quid sounds about right. But also,
you answered your question by live chatting Amazon and asking, is this seller Amazon, and Amazon live chat saying that it is Amazon.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, this is fair. Paul Daniel says, I'm still confident enough with the Samsung XPD2s. You say plural, like what is that a lapel mic as well? Should we how are we doing this? Should we grab a laptop or are we just going to browse on?
I mean, we can grab a laptop or we can do it off of here.
Yeah.
Either functions.
Yeah, let's just do it off of here. Yeah. Yes. Right. Let me bring up a thing.
Are you going to start taking apart this mouse?
Well, I wanted to look at microphones first, actually.
Only because you said it's horrifying, so I don't know if you mean it will take 3 hours horrifying or...
Good point. Okay, I'll start taking apart the mouse.
Because if we're going to do that, I was just going to sit over there and talk about microphones whilst you pull apart a mouse.
Certainly at the start point, because the first bit about just taking apart the mouse isn't going to be very interesting. So yes, agreed. Okay, very well. Okay, I'm going to make sure that Benchcam is working. Did we actually plug in Benchcam? We did.
I did.
You did. Well done. Yeah. Sorry. I was using.
I remembered.
I was using the royal we there. So.
All you need is some exposure control.
I know, right? I'm sorry for the flashbang, everyone.
Insta.
Thanks.
Like Graham.
It is not the Instalink 360. It is the Insta 360 link. The amount of times I get it wrong, you know. Mike Visions with the $5. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we both today? Any more weddings for Caradog? I don't know. Have you got any more weddings lined up?
Not this year.
All right.
Not that I know of. However, it doesn't stop them randomly occurring. You know, people are allowed to get married when they wish.
You'll allow it, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Do that. Actually, I'm just going to auto-exposure that for a sec. That looks fine. Good. Okay, right. And the gimbal. That way. Yeah. Here we go. And yeah, that looks about right. Cool. Right, put that down there. Very good. Okay, right. My brain is slowly winding up to speed. The problem is we start the we always start the podcast in at the sleepy point of my day, where my brain is having a mid-afternoon crash, and then I get a second wind and get going again.
Yes. The other important question is: are you going into cider or are you going into a coffee?
I'm going to go into a cider, I think.
Very well.
Yeah. So I'm going to sit down and tell you to go and get a cup. Actually, I'll go and get a cup because I'm not sure if I've washed the cups, and I'm not going to flip out on you as well. Hold on, everyone.
I don't know what state the drinking vessels are in.
Yeah.
They may, in fact, be entirely unfit for human usage.
I did wash some cups.
I'm going to go back to this one whilst we are not benching.
Ugh.
And sort stuff and all things.
Have a cup.
Excellent.
Are we working our way through the Perry?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. If you would be so kind as to drink me. Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Right, mouse. So.
This is my one.
Floorlamp says his my book decryption finished after about a day. Nice.
That
was a good result.
Excellent.
So
after he did wizardry and made it like 7 times faster.
Yeah, I didn't read the entire saga of that, but I saw the start bit and it looked like an interesting one. So that's kind of cool that played out in the end. Did you do any are you doing any repair work to it, or are you just being like, we've got the data, who cares about the drive kind of thing?
We have your data, your drive is now dead.
Yeah.
It had an unfortunate accident with the stairs.
Oh no. What blue mic is Rossman using? I don't know. It looks
Blue mic?
Rossman's got a weird it's an XLR studio mic, but I've no idea what it is. But it's got an interesting shape to it. It looks like some kind of esoteric, fancy microphone that's probably a 20-year-old design, but sounds really good or something like that. The dude used to work in music studios, so like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He was also on. Is it Hydrogen Audio? Oh, I've forgotten what the forum is. The forum that's for audiophiles, but.
Good audiophiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ones who are like, fuck off.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. No, I don't need a special capacitor in my Switch.
Yes.
Go away.
Audio engineers per se. So yes.
Yes.
What kind of cider do we like? Dry or sweet? Medium dry, which means in the middle.
I like from dry through to not quite supermarket sweet.
Yeah.
Like I like what would be called I don't know, kind of craft cider sweet.
Yeah, I'm not
Where
against
they
a
don't
sweet cider as long as it's a good cider.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if in doubt, medium dry is always my response.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want to stick us on bench cam?
No,
And
I don't, because I've just lost OBS. There we go.
and could you shuffle windows so we've got like a third of chat or something while we've got a while we're browsing stuff as well? Yeah, I think I can work with that. Yeah. Yeah, that should work. Yeah, okay. I'll try and keep a try and keep an eye on that. Yes, right. I'm going to start taking apart this mouse. Right, where am I on shot? Is it just the mouse mat? Yeah, okay. I'm just going to shuffle that across a little bit. There we go. Yeah, that'll do. Cool. All right, so I'm on shot. As long as I'm on the mouse mat, I'm on shot then. Groovy, and I'll let you dictate, and if you want to show something, then show it.
Okay.
Cool. I'm also going to grab a prying tool. Right, I'm going to start taking apart this mouse, and we're going to start looking at microphones. So we're looking for, yeah, we're going to bring up. Do you want to bring up the DJI first, or well, bring up the Wireless Go and the DJI, just so we can look at. Here's what we've got. Here's the one we've got our eyes on, and then there was another one that you wanted to look at as well. Is Merrydown still a thing? Yeah, Merrydown is still on the shelves in the shops. I now and then, if I like. Because you generous lot keep buying us cider, I want not for cider at the moment. Although you can still buy me more if you want. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. However, at times when I've got no cider at home, I usually go into Tesco and buy a Merrydown, which comes in a 750ml bottle and is just a really nice cider. And like, I'll drink one of those over the course of a weekend because it's got like 1.5 pints in it or something. So, you know, I'll like have half one evening and have the other half the next evening. And that's just a nice long drink for the evening. And yeah, I really like Merrydown.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean about there being many much brands.
Yes, people have gotten on this bout. People have noticed that these things exist, that people want a lapel mic without all of the faff of a lapel mic. And so, yeah, there are lots of options for these around now. Oh. Interesting.
Ha! Interesting. Fair enough.
Yeah. Caradog has just spotted a, it's an XLR to wireless, well, just show people off. It's an XLR to wireless converter. Display capture. Oh, you just need to, if that works, I would do display capture personally. Yeah. Yeah, okay, if it's working.
Yes.
Yeah, all right then. There we go.
Just, yeah.
Yeah. Plug it into an XLR mic and now it's a wireless mic. Yeah.
Yeah. That's...
I thought so. Well, did such a thing? No, I don't think it did.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah, so we've got the Rode Wireless Go 2s. And the DJI one looks very nice, but it's expensive. So we're kind of looking if that is actually what we want to go for. Yeah,
this is the system we've got. And then you've got a little receiver, which basically looks the same as the microphones. And then the actual lapel mic's there.
Paul Daniel says, biggest trouble I find with mics is trying to stop myself from sounding like I'm talking through a sock. Is that just a vocal training problem? As in just like training yourself to speak loudly and clearly? Or is that just mics hate your voice? Because I'm kind of always fighting microphone settings. Whenever I'm editing one of my videos, I always feel like the mic is either too shouty or too soft. And and every time I record, I'm moving the mic to a different position to see if that will sound better. But then I forget what position it was in by the time I get to recording. But one of the things about these Rodes is that these Rode mics, they're fine, but they've never changed my world. I've always considered these fit for purpose, but they don't sound like the be all end all. You know, like you know, my Samsung USB condenser sounds better than these. And every time I see a YouTuber using the Rode Wireless Go 2 mics, it always seems to sound better than we do on this show, to me. But then also they're in a completely different environment, so it's very difficult to do back-to-back comparisons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. I actually don't know for sure. You find you regress to nasal talk when you're not actively thinking about speaking. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, like, because this is a thing. Vocal training, whether conscious or unconscious, is a thing. Like, it's been a while since I've said it. Hello there. It's been a while since I've done this speech, but that if you go back to the really early like the first Let's Fix Computers videos, or even better, if you go back to the Secret But Bad Pilot, which is on my personal YouTube channel, I sound awful in it. If you go all the way back to that video, I sound like this, and I say, we've got this laptop, and what we're going to do is replace the screen on it, and what you need to do. And that's what I sound like. However, after 10 years of talking to other people, talking to crowds, talking at conventions, making videos, you learn to project your voice and actually belt it out like you're on the radio or you're doing a show. And then you start sounding like Tom Scott. I'm at Adamant IT right now, and you'll never believe how they do this. You know.
You're even wearing the red shirt.
Absolutely.
The problem I have...
It's incredible.
The problem I have is I'm so used to a dynamic mic being in my face or standing on a stage. Two options. And it's a case of either I'm all the way up here and people in the next room are like, what the hell's going on in there?
And like,
or I'm about here.
If we go onto loud mode now, we start getting a little bit clippy because we have these mics dialed down to just like a conversational tone. But that's the thing. It's just that projection, that is practice. And if you haven't practiced that projection, then you just won't have it naturally yet. And like, obviously, like, I know you've been doing this for a long time, Paul. You know, you've been making videos as long as I have as well. But then on the flip side, you know, your format has always been different to mine. So maybe you haven't been. I'm trying to find a way of saying I'm not implying that you have not been practicing, but perhaps because your format is different to mine, you have not had the same practice that I have been doing, if you see what I mean, you know. So yeah. And yeah, Rossman seemed to do it well, but also Rossman might be doing it just because where he's an ex-studio engineer, he just knows how to make his voice sound good regardless of anything else. So yeah. Wasn't too bad with the high levels, almost clipping. Yeah. We do have limiters.
Which is impressive, given obviously the fact of it's set up for a completely different setup to that.
Yeah.
So he at least did something right.
Okay, right.
It has got an encoder doodad.
The good news is I've got the right component and I don't have to take apart the nightmarish part of the mouse. The last time I took this mouse apart, was to change the switches, which are on these little subboards. Each switch has a tiny little subboard which connects back to here, and it's just, oh my god, what is this mouse design? So yeah, this is the one that I did when I actually did the Pure Track mouse pad review. This was the mouse where I changed the switches and put the Pure Track skates on it and stuff, which is the other reason why I didn't want to chuck this mouse out, because it's got Kale switches in it and stuff. So yeah. However, thankfully, there's our rotary encoder, and with a basic put it side by side.
Oh, let me do a zoom. Whoop.
It looks like we've got the right thing. So yeah.
Not bad.
Okay.
Not
right.
bad.
I'm gonna have the soldering iron on this pretty quick. So let's carry on with the mics and get that squared away, and then we'll carry on with this, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. Because if I go to that one, that's the right one.
Yeah, this isn't going to take 3 hours.
No, I suddenly started seeing stuff like this. I was just like, rabbit hole appears.
Oh, I see. You went off. Yeah.
But it was just a case. I was just like, here's another brand doing wireless lapel stuff with the little with the little clip-on fuzzy ones to obviously effectively a back box.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
And I was just like, £200.
Yeah,
That's cheaper.
Yeah, I'm not against having a separate mic and a box at my waist. The original reason why I went with the Wireless Go is that it was affordable, and basically the price point. I think the existence of the Rode Wireless Go has driven down the cost of other lapel mics, because previously a wireless setup like that would have been really dear.
And just look at how many results there are just purely on Amazon now, without even being sort of specific. Just going like wireless microphones.
And if anything, having the box on your belt and a clip-on lavalier means two things. Is that A, it's a lot because like you can plug in a separate mic to the Wireless Go. It's got a line in, so you can plug in a separate one. However, with those ones, you've got a smaller one, and the other problem with the Wireless Go is that it is fairly bulky to have on there, but the idea is that you just clip it on. You don't have to wire up or anything. But that's not an issue that we suffer from. This isn't something where you're. I'm not going to events where I just need to say to someone, clip this on your thing. So for me, it's not a big deal. Like at the start of a podcast, if we both spend 5 minutes putting on our microphones, kind of thing, that's not a problem.
What is it with products on Amazon and having the lightning bolts on them? It's just like, I don't want a shocking experience from this product.
I guess it's just to telegraph as a
zap.
Yeah, I guess it's just to telegraph that this is charging the device, which is kind of makes sense,
Oh yes, RGB microphones.
Oh god, that looks horrendous. Also, check out the Boya BYW6 range, same as Rode Wireless. Have a look.
Oh,
Amazon search box. Sorry.
BYW6. Is that what you said?
Yes. I see.
No.
Try searching Boya, Boya. Amazon search box.
What?
If you drag the cursor outside of the box.
Sorry, BOYA.
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
Those are very cheap. That's suspiciously cheap to me.
Yeah, they're the little like iPhone ones and stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, they've got some higher end ones as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, same
stuff
form
like
factor. Yeah.
That's cool.
Part of me wishes that, part of me wants to buy and review stuff like this, just because if anything, it's useful to other creators.
They do a little shot.
But also, microphone reviews aren't what the channel is about. Because, if we buy the DJIs, I'm probably going to review them anyway and just be like, here's some new equipment I'm using, so I'm going to review it. But yeah, at the same time, it's just not on brand.
Interesting. A supercardioid shotgun microphone for £75.
Yeah. That doesn't seem...
Or you compare it to,
Yeah, I think Rode have got stuff in that price range as well. Yeah. 190.
That's my point.
Yeah. I thought Rode had something in that price range. Obviously, the problem with XLR is you need a decent interface first.
Yeah. Yeah, see, it's like £200 for those.
Yeah, because I've always been kind of tempted to play with a shotgun mic for the purpose for the setup, because the shotgun mics are unidirectional with a decent distance on them. So the idea is that if because the workbench, the repair bench setup is fundamentally just a streamer setup. And so, you're sitting at a desk with monitors, a keyboard, and mouse in front of you. And in an ideal world, you don't want to have a microphone in your face. And a shotgun mic, you can have that back behind your monitors next to your camera. And it puts the microphone way out of the way, which is cool. So I've kind of always liked the idea of a shotgun mic, but they're just too expensive for me to buy one to experiment with. So yeah. You send your kit to test if you want to see how well you get on with them. Yeah, maybe. I mean, we're buying something today. because these mics are going back on Tuesday-ish, Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. So we have to buy something today, otherwise we're going to have no mics next week.
Something by Insta360.
The hell is that?
I don't know.
Oh, is that just a Type-C to microphone? Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Not entirely certain what that. A lens cap for the Insta360 X3? Okay, I don't know what that is.
Fair enough.
Fine, that is not useful to
Rode
us.
have got a USB shotgun mic. Oh, that's interesting that they actually have it, because I was going to say USB shotgun mics are really rare, because normally by the time someone is interested enough in microphones to be using like a shotgun mic, they're probably not using USB gear. But again, there's a big interest for USB gear because of the rising of streamers and home content creators who are trying to get decent quality without having the full studio setup kind of thing. So yeah, check out the brand new Rode wireless kit. Expensive but amazing sound and features. What have Rode got that's new?
Is it that one?
Wireless ME.
Is it the wireless ME TX? Because if it is, it doesn't come out until September 4th.
Yeah. I want to try different.
Which is whoops. Possibly open the picture.
Yeah.
There we go. Which is it has local recording as well, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah. However, I'll be amazed if I'll be surprised if the microphone is different to the ones in the Wireless Go 2. Basically, this is probably just an iteration of the wireless. This is fundamentally a Wireless Go 3. Is my guess. So I want to try something different because I want something that will just sound different, and I don't think that's going to sound meaningfully different to the Wireless Go 2. I thought this stream was about fixing mice. We're going to. We're buying microphones first. I didn't think. I thought it would take longer for me to take this mouse apart. So.
Yeah, these.
Oh yeah, 400 quid. It's too expensive, man. The local recording is good, but I presumably there's a market for someone who's gone out there and needs to locally record. But like, who is going to somewhere where they might need that and is that ill-equipped that they don't have something to plug the mic into to record? You know,
or isn't already using a PCM recorder.
Yeah.
But I think having local recording is good if it is local to the microphone. Because if you're doing wireless and you walk out of range of the receiver, it means you don't have to cut the shot. You can still use the shot because it's recording locally on the microphone. If it's recording to the actual microphone itself,
that'd be really good.
Then that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. New watcher, guess you get silver. That's cool, Ivy. Yeah. Yep. We'll be working on the mouse soon. Don't worry. But yes, at the moment we're having a microphone waffle. We waffle here a lot. Not gonna lie.
I thought for a second that was a vape. It's like a Rode vape. Oh no, never mind.
That'd be Behringer before we start seeing them. Like, wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
Local recording's good. The auto gain leveling is amazing. You can scream and there's zero distortion. Interesting, yeah. I guess that reduces the setup required. Yeah. And yeah, I suppose. Part of me doesn't like that being done in hardware. Part of me prefers this to be done in software, so the hardware behaves in a more predictable manner. But on the flip side, though, again, a lot of this equipment is about making studio stuff accessible. And it just means that someone who, it requires less expertise to set up the mic well. So, yeah. All right. So yeah, the DJI kit. Oh yeah, 109 Godox. Yeah. What was the brand that you were trying to remember?
Yeah.
Or is that what you're looking for at the moment?
Oh, it was these ones. Because I suddenly remembered this awful setup picture. I was just like, I don't know what's going on here, but why is the camera so damn close to them?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was these ones.
Fair enough. Does it come? Yeah, so that's a nice case.
So it comes
for
with a
stuff.
reasonable
Yeah.
amount of
Kit.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if this is specifically the one you want, but
Yeah.
like it was something like this. Yeah.
Move link 2. Yeah. See the problem. We might need. See the problem is just like the DJI one is expensive, but we know it's going to be good. Whereas these other brands look very interesting and look really good bang for buck, but we don't know if they're going to be good or not. We can only assume based on price if they're going to be any good.
Yeah, and also just as well though, because it's coming from Amazon, if it isn't, you just send it back.
Yeah, I guess. I don't like playing that game, but
Well, yeah, but also if it's literally not fit for purpose.
Yeah, if the sound quality is that bad that I'm just like, oh.
This was the system that I was looking at. Yeah, it was this system as opposed to the other one because it's got the hot shoe.
Yeah.
And stuff because this is the Sony version. But yeah, it had like the hot shoe and stuff, and I was just like, oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It's a nice to have because very occasionally we have used the wireless go-tos
on
the hot shoe.
But this is specifically for Sony cameras.
Yeah.
They don't do any other brand.
Yeah.
But it was purely a case of I was just looking at the company and just being like, that's kind of cool.
Mookie MC says the Godox is nice and all the components charged again in the case. Yeah. Have you got experience with them, Mookie? Or is this just from an observational going, oh, that looks nice kind of thing? Roger says, I was a radio guy. Wearing a headset and listening to one's voice will change your speaking voice. That could make sense. I've never used a monitor before. I've always thought it's a bit weird. Well, no, I'll rephrase that. I like whenever you see people in studio, everyone has got a monitor so they can hear what they sound like. And for me, I've always been like, oh man, that would annoy me just hearing my own voice in my ear while I'm trying to talk. But at the same time, I would imagine that would help you be conscious of how you're talking all the time. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was these ones that I was trying to remember. And this was just kind of interesting.
Yes.
But then it was kind of a case as well as the fact of if you're spending that level of money, it is unfortunately a brand that you've never heard of. But Amazon.
Yeah. Change for the good. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll have to try that at some point when I'm streaming, just see how I get on with it. You see, you can top up your Amazon account with £60 and you get a £5 discount. Interesting. I'll take a free £5. I'll keep a lookout for that because I've got a voucher that I need to add onto my Amazon account at some point, so I'll have a look at that at that point. Hello from France. Hello. Is it Michael? Would it be pronounced? Sorry if I'm butchering your name.
Yeah, and it's also just like this, the minus 6 dB safety tracker, just little things like that. I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Okay, so
I quite like these just as a random brand that I heard of once.
So here's the question then. We've got budget is up to £250 because that's what the DJI costs.
Yeah.
Are we going to buy the DJIs? Or are we going to take a punt at something else to be like, hey, here's something else? Because the DJIs, we know they're going to be good. They're kind of the boring option. It would be more interesting if one of these other brands were good. But also, it's 250 quid of my money, and I don't want to roll dice, if you see what I mean. But it is Amazon. If they're that bad, just send it back, Michelle. I don't know why I tried to put an accent on that. Michelle. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Yeah.
Isn't there some test vid on YouTube for samples? Yeah, like shock horror. We could just look at reviews.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of a case of interesting to see what's out there.
Yeah. So in a way, I like the idea of those ones as well, just because they've got the you get the box and the separate wire mic for that, so they're more discreet and such. I guess we could just have a look at the Amazon reviews and just see if there are any reviews that look confidence-inspiring. Very poor quality sound. Do not buy. I see. Small office, supplied lab. Purchased this twice in a row. Most of the time there's a buzzing, the sound constantly cuts out. Oh. Anything else? Have you just specified one-star review?
I've just gone one-star reviews just to see if the microphone didn't connect to my iPhone. It's like, well, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of people saying that they're just not very good quality. Works great for a month and died for faulty item.
As a review, that's 6% of 1,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think those Comica ones are. I think they're suspiciously cheap for the type of product they are. There. Got on sale B-Link 500 Pro for £66. That sounds like budget range.
Great road go alternative. Yeah. Interesting. If someone's comparing them whilst knowing what an RE20 and an RE27 sounds like, that's an interesting comment.
Okay.
Just because, RE20 and RE27 are expensive mics.
Fair enough.
Interesting. Okay. Yes. My Lego YouTube channel.
Okay, right. Action time then. Are we going to put a pin in this and look at some reviews post-stream? Because I was kind of expecting us to look over the DJI and just be like, yeah, cool, we're going to go buy that.
I think the split is between this if we want to buy something cheap.
Yeah.
That one? No. That one.
Yeah.
Or the DJI, basically.
Yeah. So the DJI, if you just close the preview a sec on that.
1 second, and then I'll just see what this was. Yeah. Oh, I see.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's also
similar deal.
For 2 of them, it's 330 quid.
Yeah, there's the.
Oh no.
I was going to say that's probably the kind of thing we'd be looking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's the base price on the DJI then? Is it 290? And what have they got on? Yeah, so say with you, good condition. Like, have they got details on that? Does it just say
medium cosmetic imperfection on the front of the item, medium cosmetic imperfection on the top of the item, on the sides?
Yeah. So every time I bought something that says cosmetic imperfection on the front of the item, kind of thing. It basically means it's open box and the item is in functionally perfect working order. Like, every time I bought something like that, the box has been a little bit scuffed where it's been open before, but you look at the thing and you're like, that's brand new. Someone basically just bought this, took it out of the box and said, I don't want this, and then sent it back. So I'm inclined to go for a used but good DJI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the other thing I like about the DJI as well is that it comes with the magnetic clips for clothing, which I really like. And the accessory box is nice, the charge box is nice. It's a really nice set.
Oh yeah. Oh, it comes with an adapter for iPhone as well. Interesting. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Is just. So don't talk yourself out of it then. Yeah.
Yeah, I think basically it's a case of have a look at this, and then if somehow these have, astounding reviews from multiple sources, we'd consider it. But
let's check the reviews. We'll YouTube some reviews for that afterwards, and just see if anyone raves about them. Otherwise, I'm inclined to just get the DJIs just so we can be like done and done. We got the nice
basically.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a case of we'll need pretty strong reviews from the other ones to consider it.
We're going to need someone who is clearly an expert of their field to shower one of those other ones with blessings and say it's a hidden gem to change my mind, I think.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the answer, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So go with the Godox if you plan to use the new mics as a replacement for the Rode. If you want to try something less mainstream at a better price point. Yeah. Okay. We'll have a look at some reviews. We'll do that after the stream. That's a bit of a harder choice. I thought we were going to have a look and be like, we'll get the DJIs. But again, the DJIs, they're expensive. I said to Caradog at the start, like, the really good thing about them is they come with loads of accessories.
Yeah.
But the bad thing is they come with loads of accessories, which means they're more expensive than they need to be, So it depends on if all of those accessories are useful, then that's great. But like the charge box is cool, but we don't really need it.
No, absolutely.
But also, it's really cool, and I certainly wouldn't say no to it.
Certainly handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you get any bonuses if you write reviews on Amazon? No. I mean, if you're a seasoned reviewer, people might send you free stuff. That'll be a thing. Do you want to hit the bench cam? I'm going to carry on taking this thing apart, but I'm not sure. Okay, right. I need to take off this top board.
Ping.
Third time's the charm. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm quite uncertain about how I feel about all of that. Because at the same time, the DJI, even if we get the new and used one at $255, it's still another 50 quid today, and I'm feeling poor this month.
Yeah.
There we go. Right, that's our scroll wheel out. So there's our rotary encoder, which is probably screwed up, and on the other side we have the middle click. That's surprisingly heavy, but yeah. And then that Kale switch back there, which inexplicably came fitted to the mouse. That was just there by default. That is that's the DPI button up there. And for some reason or other, the DPI button they saw fit to put a Kale red there. So yeah, good.
But yes, also to answer the question, yes, there is an Amazon affiliate code. And if you happen to be in the Discord, you can make your own affiliate links.
Yes, we have an affiliate bot. So it's the whole URL, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So you just do /affiliate, type, paste in your Amazon link, and it will spit out an affiliate code. So yes. Okay, right. What method I'm going to use to remove the rotary encoder? I'm going to step it out with the soldering iron, and then I'm going to use the desoldering gun because it worked. Actually, no, I will wick it because I've been practicing my wicking recently. Right, I'm just going to grab some soldering kit.
I'm going to use my power bank that's already in my pocket.
Right, I need that, I need that, I need that, and that.
Ah, yes.
And the vice.
Indeed.
Okay, right. I don't think this is going to be terribly exciting, but I really like fixing stuff like this. It's just, they're simple repairs and they're just nice. They're fun repairs to do.
I feel like simple is useful.
Yeah. Right. Could you align the camera a bit better for me, please?
In which direction would you like it moving?
Just to center it a bit better. I'm in the middle of the mouse pad at the moment. Shall I move it across a bit more again? There we go. Then if you straighten and zoom down a little bit more. Thank you. Right, and I need power for
the
thing. I'll get this one from over here. Right, and I'm going to assume that my microphone has enough battery now.
Yes, so, it's been an hour.
Yes. 65 watts. I think the other reason why I like doing these, and I want to do more videos of repairing accessories like this, is that so many people chuck out stuff which they really like, but has broken.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to just illustrate more that these kind of repairs are actually very straightforward to do. Right, I'm going to wet the joins up first with some fresh solder.
Oop. Yes, seeing a Vice branded with Amtech is weird.
Yeah, Amtech is a nonsense brand that doesn't exist. But also, unrelated to Flux, Amtech is also just a cheap tool brand. If you search for them, there is an Amtech brand that just make cheap tools. It's really weird.
Absolutely.
Cool, right. I'm now going to step this guy out, so I'm just going to start heating all of these joins bit by bit, and I should be able to...
Floor lamp is already telling you you're wrong. You require a tiny PCB clamp.
Oh, I do, yeah. Oh, this is... I'm going to clamp that hard because that's expendable.
Have you clamped the encoder?
Yes.
The old encoder, and then you're just going to pull the PCB
However,
off.
this PCB is actually quite thin, and I don't think I'm going to get away with this. I think this might be a hot air situation. Just because those anchors are big, and I don't think... Because the anchors have bent legs in them, I don't think I can step this out. And this PCB is flexing hideously. I'm going to bring the temperature down as well. I'm at 370 and everything is just on fire, so I'm going to drop to 340. I'm going to get some tweezers and try and pull it up in the middle, but this might not be a soldering iron hero job.
Oh, you've got your jeans chain.
My jeans chain, yeah. This is the new age. We don't have a chain anymore. We got a USB power bank hanging off our belts. Okay, right. Let's try that one more time, but... Oh, now I don't have enough heat. There we go. Start getting these guys all moving again. I think I needed the heat if I was going to step that out, actually. That's surprising how much of a difference that makes.
I bet Graham had a wallet chain back in the day.
I didn't, actually. I could have. You know, like I was certainly in that category of people. I was a rocker, I guess. This is not working at all. I'm sort of trying to do this because if you never try doing stuff like this, you'll never know. But this feels horrid and gross. Actually,
Paul says to clip it.
Yeah. I was just thinking the same thing. I'm going to snip the legs and take them out one by one. Ow. Yeah, I think it moved a bit, but yeah, this PCB is really thin and flexible. So it's just, yeah, I think usually a mouse PCB is usually like 1 mil, 1.2 mil, and it has got enough rigidity that it can take that kind of abuse. This one will not.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to clip it. Ugh. Oh, I'll wick it once the things are out, but wicking it now won't clear the holes properly. Right, so I'm just going to snip this thing off. Underrated technique, actually. Sometimes the obvious answer is the best. And also this, ladies and gentlemen, is why you always have a pair of side cutters that you don't really care about, so you can just abuse them.
Ping, ping.
Die. Okay, right, now we can pull pins out. Violence is always the answer. Low melt solder. I don't know if that would have helped, unironically here. I think the PCB just isn't hard enough to let me do that. Also, I'm not sure if you're being sarcastic or not, Floor Lamp, because you're doing the sarcastic caps.
He's already told you to get some chip quick.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. That's the answer to that then. Yeah.
Why do you not already own this? He says.
Because I don't need it. Because I just cut the thing off and now it's come off.
Ah. Solder paste?
You see, Floor Lamp, you're wrong. I'm joking. Floor Lamp is never wrong.
Would you like a bar of solder?
A bar of solder? What?
Yeah, a bar of low melt solder.
Oh. What the hell? Is that actually bismuth?
I don't know.
It can't be at that price. I hear that actual real bismuth solder is actually expensive, which is why every time previously when I've... Oh, god damn it, I'll push it through
You
then.
can get some tin, bismuth, silver, low temperature solder paste from MG Chemicals for £15.
Oh, that's why that didn't come off.
Why am I solder pasting a screw hole? I interrupt your soldering with, why are we solder pasting a screw hole?
Also, is that flux?
No, it's solder paste.
Okay, but it looks like flux. Give me the big picture again. Okay. Oh yeah, no, that is actually solder paste coming out the end. For a minute, it looked like some sort of clear-looking stuff coming out, and I was like, "Is that just flux, but with a weird name?" Okay.
You think you don't need it, but you do.
Maybe you're right, Floor Lamp. It's worth noting, if Paul Daniels is still about, I do actually need to attempt a MacBook Pro Mux chip repair, and I'm a bit scared. Because I think that's going to be BGA. Forbidden incense. Beautiful. That's a lot of forbidden incense, actually, yeah. It smells so good, though. Unironically, I really have to be like, sort of, don't sniff it. Don't sniff it.
Don't sniff the petrol.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I don't like the smell of petrol, marker pens, and stuff like that. I
am not at risk of solvent abuse.
No, literally no. However, Amtech smells really good, though. It genuinely does. The old cheap flux that I used to use smelled awful, so I was never tempted to sniff it. But the Amtech smells really good. It's problematic.
Paul says he's still here. Did you try a new screen and still no luck with that MacBook?
I tried potentially compatible screens. So you listed a couple of screens that you said these will probably work. And I did have a couple of those. I tried 2 different ones and had nothing. So, yeah, I don't want, however, I don't really want to spend £220 on a alternative screen that might not work.
Ah, yes. As Wild Fallout says, cancer pine.
Yeah.
Sorry, at least Moeto's not in here banging on about your lack of extraction.
Yeah, I mean, I don't sit here and sniff it, you know.
Plus, not on stream.
Plus, like, I only actually solder like a couple of times. I don't solder that much. I don't do board repair all day, every day. That's the thing. You know, I'm only actually doing a bit of soldering work a couple of times a week at most. You know, so, and that's the other reason why I'm not super fussed about it. I should have made that a little bit straighter, but I think that's all right. Right, I think that's in. Need to change glasses. It was marked in big. Huh? No idea. Right. So that goes in there.
Dave Weldon, I was desoldering some items from a vintage board on Wednesday, and I started feeling very odd and discovered I'd been transported to another dimension.
Mighty Car Mods in their earlier days did a video about buffing out. How does that click down? Oh, there it goes. That's now in place. They did a video about doing dent repair on your own car by doing a filler sand and paint job. And I think it was the filler they were using, or bog as it's known as, when you mix it together, and then it obviously is going to like set into a cement kind of thing. It gives off a lot of fumes. So you've got to do. So they're like, right. So you've got to do this either like open your garage door or do it out on the driveway because there's going to be a lot of fumes. And they start putting it on, and they do an entire like 5-minute sequence of this psychedelic space wizard as they both get insanely off their faces on the fumes, and they're just like, it's just a lot of green screen nonsense and space wizard, you know, and it's a journey, and I think about it a lot, you know. And like every now and then in some of the more modern videos, they've done weird songs because that's just their sense of humor. And some people in the comment are just like, this is weird, just do it normally. And the people who've been watching Mighty Car Mods for a long time are just like, you must be new here. You know?
I see the filler is still having its effect.
Just gonna say, you guys don't remember Space Wizard, you know? Maybe ask around and see if someone's got a working chassis you can test with. Yeah, maybe. Muck swap isn't fun even with all the gear. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Paul, that I should be really sure before I commit to that. That's understandable. Okay. Right.
Ah, Pianov. Hello.
Aha. Hello, Pianov. Good. Okay, right. I think this is done. This wasn't quite as exciting as I didn't know how exciting I was expecting a mouse repair to be. But we were supposed to talk about tech or something while I was doing this, if I'm honest.
Now you get to watch people fumble with a ziff.
Here's a question. What's the difference between a LIF and a ZIF? What's the difference between a low insertion force connector and a zero insertion force connector? Are they different or are they basically the same thing? Serious question. This isn't a trick. Genuine question. Is LIF and ZIF the same thing? Is one of them a trademark or something like that? Which would explain why there's two things that mean the same thing. These are the big questions.
One of them's for cleaning your bath and one of them's for cleaning your shower.
Because a video that I'm planning on doing at some point that I keep not getting around to doing is, I think I've spoken about it on the channel at some point before. I've definitely spoken it in the YouTube comments, but doing a video where I take apart a modern MacBook and I just do really detailed microscope shots showing how you unlatch and open each connector. because the amount of people who break connectors because they don't know how they work, and I want really gratuitous shots showing here's the locking bar opening. You open the locking bar and you pull the ribbon out, and so on. One uses a lever, one uses insertion force. I'm not sure if you're Is this German humour? One uses a lever. Yeah, but what about the locking bar? Does that count as a lever? Like, if you Google search Lif and Ziff, you know, you get the same thing. Germans don't joke. Don't they? I'm not sure. So, yeah.
Sif is a shampoo. Hold on a minute.
Forbidden shampoo.
Why does my hair feel
I'm
gritty?
always serious. Okay, then. So basically, if anyone says, okay, so Ziff socket as a moving gate. The other one you have to move. Okay, so right, which one has the lever then? Is that 0 for the lever? Actually, you know what? Let's do examples. This guy here, is this a low insertion force or a 0 insertion force? Because it's got a lever. It's got a locking lever. Ziff has the metal bar, like an AMD CPU socket in the old Intel ones. See, I've seen this referred to as Ziff many, many times. That's why I say it. And like, same with this guy. This has got a locking lever, but it moves up. It's vertical, you know. So these are the big questions. Because one of the reasons why I haven't made that video yet is if I'm going to do a video that shows all these things in gratuitous detail, I want to make sure I'm using the correct terminology. Otherwise, someone's going to shout at me and actually me.
Low insertion force is self-retaining. 0 requires a latch of lever. Oh, latch or lever.
Listen. Someone is always going to shout at you. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Ribbon connector with a lever is Ziff. I've never seen a ribbon connector with a lever. That's the thing, unless you count the plastic locking bar. Is the locking bar a lever?
What? Are we talking about something different when we say levers? We're not talking about, like, you know, things at the side of an AM.
Of the screws.
We're not talking about things at like the side of an AM3 socket.
No. Okay. Yeah, this is true. Like, if we're talking lever in the most literal sense of a literal heckin' metal bar that goes 90 degrees down, then yeah, fair enough. Okay, that settles that one.
I don't know.
Someone is always going to shout at you, and that someone is me.
Well, yes, understandable. You're never entertained.
This is why I must drink and be wild. Mechanically, technically, they're all levers. So my point still stands then. Way too few explosions today. Well, I have that one exploded Huawei.
Ah.
Which
yes.
At some point I need to poke you at some point about that Huawei floor lamp and be like, can you just tell me where to measure so I know whether I should actually bother to try and work on this thing or not? Because it looks like the EC has probably gone nuclear as well, in which case I'm just like, nope, I'm out.
Oh. I got 3/4 of the way into that and then just went, I don't know.
Be a lever in that context. You have FFC inserted in connectors that don't have lever locking mechanism, and you need to apply force to get them in.
A budgie is not a kettle? Dave! Are you okay, Dave?
I mean, he's spitting facts. A budgie is, in fact, not a kettle. Of this we can be certain.
Archimedes said, give me a lever long enough and I'll insert your ribbon cable from the next room. What?
I'm trying to concentrate on this conversation while also fighting with fitting this together again. That does go up into there. It just has to go in at just the right angle, and then it'll suddenly just click into place.
I have to put it in the right place and then apply sufficient force. Therefore it is not as if.
Yeah, this is not low insertion force. Well, there's insertion force and then there's effort force, you know. That's another variable in this entire discussion, is not just how much force is required, but how much effort is required.
If you open cheap appliances, like a DVD player, you'll often have FFC in LIF connectors, or other random example, the palm rest FFC in a compact CQ61.
Okay, can you roll back up to Piano's previous message? What is an FFC?
Yes.
Okay, next question. Piano, what is an FFC? Talk to me like I'm 5 years old here. I'm drinking cider.
Also,
I mean, CQ61, yeah, that's a basic bitch HP compact that's been around since the Stone Age.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was
an odd example to give.
I was expecting something.
Pianov is speaking like the compact Presario CQ61 has hurt him at some point, and that's entirely viable because I think a CQ61 has hurt everyone in this business at some point. It was a terrible, terrible laptop. Pre-revenue asked, what mouse is this? This is a Logitech G603. Flat flex cable. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, right. Flat flex cable in a low insertion force connector. All right, so my understanding is that we are defining that what I showed in the mouse there as a with a little locking bar that you open and then you have a ribbon that sits in there. That's low insertion force, because with very little force, you push the ribbon in, you close the locking lever. Then a zero insertion force would be something that actually has a big locking bar that opens up and there is no resistance at all. Like a PGA socket kind of thing.
I think so.
Is that where we're drawing this line?
Maybe. FFC is also known as printed flexible circuit.
Sure.
What?
Yeah, that's fundamentally the same thing, though. Yeah. I was going to.
I don't like this.
I have to admit, when I asked this question, I thought I was going to get a straight answer. I realise now the can of worms that I have unpacked.
Pinov says the compact CQ61 was a pretty popular, and it's one of a few with connectors without a locking mechanism.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's been a hot minute since I've worked on a CQ61. So yeah, that is a very specific example.
But okay.
Okay. The mouse still works. And the scrolling
you can
action
look up
works
a picture
on
of a motherboard. And on the back side, the keyboard connector is a ZIF and the other's a LIF.
Okay, right. We've got specific picture examples. Here we go.
Manuals. Nope.
Just image search.
Oh, that's a video. This one? Oh. Enhance. There we go.
Zoom. Enhance. They're on the other side of the thing. Ah, yes. Okay, right. Zoom. Okay. Right. Are we on desktop view at the moment so the people can see?
Mode, on the back side, the keyboard connector would be ZIF and the others would be LIF.
Oh, okay. I got it. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Show the people this.
Yep.
Nope. Okay. Right. So, yeah. Yes, they can see. Okay, right. So the keyboard connector, point it out for them. So the keyboard connector with the black bar on it, that has a locking bar on it. That is a ZIF. You open the locking bar, you put the ribbon in, you close the locking bar. The ones to the right of it, those will also take a ribbon connector, but you just push the ribbon connector in and it just stays in there. That is a LIF, a low insertion force. That's how we're defining this. That makes sense to me because those are two connectors that I am familiar with and you can draw a very clear distinction with because it doesn't have it. So yes. Okay. Is this still hot? It is not. What are we fixing today? We have fixed, or I have fixed this Logitech mouse. I could go and get the receiver for it and prove to you, but it works. But I'm just going to say, trust me, bro. I'm looking at the other screen that's across the room, and it's scrolling pretty good, and it feels really good. I don't know if you can get like aftermarket rotary encoders that have a really nice feel to them or not. However, this one is fixed, and now it won't drive me up the wall anymore. I trust you, bro. Thanks. Because they're really low insertion force. Yes, agreed. Yep. All right. So, if it has a locking bar, it's a 0 insertion force. If it doesn't have a locking bar, it's a low insertion force. That's what I'm going with. A nice black and white answer. Ivy says, I trust anyone with a goatee. Thanks. I appreciate this. Every now
thousands wouldn't.
Yeah, I was good. Well, not thousands, but there is every now and then there's a video that's either just like, I can't take you seriously with that goatee, bro, and I'm just like, every one of these comments makes me more powerful. You're going to get yelled at for sure now. Maybe, but at least I've made a distinction. I'm standing for something. That's what I'm going to stand for.
And if you stand for nothing,
then you'll fall for anything. We are making a stand here. Low insertion. Low insertion force means there is no locking lever.
I have been on the source.
You can select your rotary encoders based on the newtons of force required between the detents. I should have known that you would know this, Paul Daniels, being a would you call yourself a product designer? Because you have designed products. You have designed products, so I would take your word for that. So yes, excellent. It depends on the ears. That's a reference to me wearing bunny ears on my Twitch streams.
I think it's talking about the ones with the slidey ears.
Oh, I see. What about the ones with the slidey ears? That's a locking bar. So the ones, hang on a minute. Have we got
Paul Daniels is a scratcher of itches.
A scratcher of itches. I see. That is a way. Just gonna unplug them in here. That is a way of phrasing that. Where is a laptop that will have a slider boy in it? Those are all this.
In these piles of many, many opened laptops.
It's a computer shop. right, chat. I'm going to need you to show me your lifts. I'm going to get bored of this in 10, 9, 8,
I've
7,
replaced your lift with an
6,
Xbox.
5, 4, 3.
Marginally
2,
difficult insertion force. With
1.
this.
I'm bored of this. I'm coming back. Okay. It's mid, to be honest. So I was looking for a motherboard that would have, you know the locking, the laptop connectors where the locking bar doesn't flip 90 degrees, it slides out slightly, and then you put the thing in, and then you push it back in again. I think that's what whoever it was referring to by the little ears. However, that's just a locking lever in a different form factor. It just slides instead of flips. So I'm calling that the same thing. I'm calling that a zero insertion force. I hate those ziffs. Sai making a stand there. He's calling it a ziff. So yeah.
Is there an acronym for exertion force?
Extraction force.
Extraction force.
So I'm more of a designer, toolmaker, developer first, and then I do repairs as more of a supporting career.
But where do the cats come in all of that?
The repairs support your designer, toolmaker, developer habit. So MacBook on the top shelf just behind you has that connector. Probably. That's it. I'm not looking. All right. Either way, I think we're defining ziffs as having a locking bar of sorts, and lifts being a flat flex connector with no lock on it. That's what I'm going for. DisplayPort is a lift hef. Elaborate.
Low insertion force, high extraction force.
Oh, I see. Well, that depends on if you push the button or not. So yeah. All right. Fan header is a lift. Oh God, are we going down? Oh no!
Behold, a man.
Yeah. Oh no, we're not playing that game. Jarili, you're banned. Get out of here.
Wild Four Lamp. I'm primarily an alcoholic. Repair technician is just a side hustle.
Yeah. All right. No. Fan headers are JST connectors. What's a JST? What does that stand for? Google it. Now. Hurry up. I call it the 3-pin fan header isn't JST specifically, but right. Is JST an actual brand name, as in the connector?
Certainly looks like it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, because this is the problem. It's like when someone says a Molex connector, I'm just like, no. When you say Molex connector, you think of the 4-pin connector. However, Molex are a brand. JST are also a brand.
JST connectors are an electrical connectors.
But if you say a JST connector, that's what you're talking about, And fan connectors in laptops and stuff like that are glorified JSTs.
The term JST is sometimes incorrectly used as a vernacular term meaning any small white electrical connector mounted on PCBs.
Precisely. And I will continue to use it incorrectly to that extent. In the same way that I will continue to call any vacuum cleaner a Hoover.
You're one of them.
Yes.
Disdainful.
I forgot. Oh. Molex's mini fit and micro fit mostly these days.
And yes, and the so-called Molex connector is made by AMP.
Oh no, is it? I mean, they presumably they invented it and just AMP licensed it or something.
Then there's the Berg connector. What?
Berg connector.
Is that for connecting your bergs? Sounds very German to me.
Tell me more.
The Berg connector.
Oh, that's the floppy connector. Oh, this can die in a fire. This is the one where now and then someone will buy a cheap power supply that has one of these on it, and they'll be like, that fits into a 4-pin fan header? Send it. I'm not even joking. I've seen it happen.
4-pin, send.
Molex invented a similar one, but the one in use is invented and made by AMP. Oh, fair enough. Today I learned. You've seen way too many people do that. Yeah. Yeah. Nikolai says ZIF connectors don't require the blue plastic reinforcement tabs as they are placed into the connector and locked down with the lever. LIF are just pushed in. Yes, I agree with that statement.
It all comes back to the fact that a budgie is not a kettle.
These are also facts. Yeah. Fair enough. All right.
The floppy connector is insert only.
I mean, it kind of is because there's no release for it. You just rip the damn thing out.
I wouldn't know. I'm not old enough.
Have you owned a computer with a floppy drive?
No.
Not at all?
I don't think so.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, that much being said, the only computer
that much being said, I was also no. I've had computers with 5 1/4 floppies.
Yeah, but
and then I went straight onto CDR.
Yeah, but like a computer that you have bought and was like in your bedroom or something like that, you know? Yeah, because like
I am not old enough to have floppy drived any of the computers I was building.
Yeah, I had a floppy drive on my I had a floppy drive on my Pentium 3 build,
They're called
which was
stuffies. Oh no, that says stuffies, stiffies. Never mind. Moving on.
I had a floppy drive once. Let me tell you a story about my floppy drive. What is this show? So, yeah, no, I had it, but like literally, I think the only reason, like, I had it on the computer because it seemed like a thing that you needed to have on your computer. But I don't think I ever used that floppy drive in anger because, like, that was from the between times when floppy disks were too small to be useful, like 1.4 megabytes. Like, they were kind of useless, but flash storage wasn't viable yet because flash storage was not a thing until like 2002, 2003, before flash storage was something that was affordable enough that you might actually own one. I remember Mike Lloyd Jones, my old boss, when I was working with him in Cube Computers, which was the first shop that he had and I worked in, which is where I met him. At one point, he was just like, "Check this out," and he had a USB flash drive, and it was like, I think it was 256 megabytes. Actually, I think it was pretty big.
Fancy.
Yeah, but at the time, I was just like, "That's cool, man." You know,
one day I'll learn enough to own one of those.
Yeah, because it was just like, holy crap, you can just plug that into anything, just 256 megabytes of storage, because the only other alternative was a floppy disk or you burn a CD.
Yeah.
And anyone knows that burning a CD is a horrifying nightmare. So yeah, and like, oh yeah, there's certain nerds who own zip drives, but man, who owns a zip drive? And for all the people who are now immediately putting up their hands saying, actually, I owned a zip drive, and the one person who says, I had a Jazz drive, go away, you know? So, but yeah. I can't remember where I was going with this story.
Didn't they make like a 1.5 gig zip drive?
Zip drives went pretty high, yeah. The problem was, though, is that just you could never guarantee that the place you were taking the data to also had a zip drive. So it was only useful if like you had a home office and a work office and you had a zip drive at both ends. But like obviously with a modern flash drive, you can plug that into literally any computer. That's the value.
Wow.
Unless it's an Apple. But yeah. Anyway, I had a floppy drive, but I think the only reason why I put it on there was that very quickly we went into the Athlon era where we started using SATA hard drives and you had to preload your SATA drivers from a floppy disk when installing Windows XP. And that was like the only time I ever used a floppy disk was to load the SATA drivers when I was reinstalling Windows. So yeah.
I can't remember ever doing that. So I think the first time I reinstalled Windows XP, it was an SP1B disk, which already had a bunch of SATA controller drivers built into it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been the first time I reinstalled it myself, because the first XP disk I bought myself included Service Pack 3 on it.
Pre-revenue says you never had to use floppy boot disks. I think I was doing that as well, but that again, that we're still talking about the only time you ever did that was when you were reinstalling Windows. So like the floppy drive, I think for my/our generation, the only purpose of floppy drives was maintenance, basically.
Yeah, basically.
That was the only reason why.
But it was a case of, I certainly never used them because...
And like, I bothered to buy a silver floppy drive when I got my Cooler Master case, but like, I think it wasn't. I only had that in there for a short amount of time before I replaced it with a 2x16 alphanumeric LCD. And at that point, when I reinstalled Windows, I had to get a floppy drive out and plug in a ribbon and have it hanging out the side to reinstall Windows. And then once I'd done that, I'd then unplug it all again. So yeah. I mean, obviously, floppy drives had utility before this period of time, but yeah, at the very least, it does beg the question: why the hell does any power supply made in the past decade have the Berg connector on it? But yeah, there's going to be someone out there that's just like, actually, I need that. But yeah,
but yeah.
Zip was super handy for moving files in an office. Yeah, like I think that was its main purpose. I think that was the main point where they actually picked up some usage. I have encountered zip drives, and I forget the difference between zip and jazz because they're very, very similar. I think yeah, there's an interesting story behind zip and jazz, but yeah, I think like zip drives came out first, then the jazz drive came along and was slightly higher capacity, and then zip came out with just something that was the same capacity and faster, and then jazz just faded away after that, or something like that. So yeah,
I don't know.
And then there's the 10 people in the world who owned the super floppy drive, which was the 100 megabyte floppy disk, which was really cool. I have seen one of those as well. Yeah, pre-revenue just came in with that, the super floppy, the LS120.
Oh, yeah, that's what LS120 is.
LS120 is the super floppy. It's a 120 megabyte floppy disk. Again, I've seen one once in my life, and I was just like, it's literally a 3.5 floppy disk that can store 120 megabytes on it, and you're like, huh,
interesting.
But again, it was kind of dead on arrival because it came around at the time when just floppy media was already dead.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, Jazz went up to 2 gigabyte apparently.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah. Jazz was SCSI. Ah, interesting. Was there no USB Jazz drive, like a USB to SCSI interface? Because if they were all SCSI and internal, that would explain a lot.
Yeah, and then, but it's just a case of I basically never bothered with any of this because
no, they were very niche products. I only
it was already
I only encountered them in like in the early days of my career, where I would see like design environments where they would be used, and like way back in the day when I was in year 10 and doing work experience, I did work experience for a civil engineering company called Molem Civil Engineering. So I did work experience in a office block where I don't know how big it was, but it was a big company. I did work experience in an enterprise environment was the main thing, and they had other sites. And now a couple of times during my work experience period there, we would go to other sites and they would have other offices, and they had like zip drives and jazz drives doing backups on the workstations there because the internet wasn't fast enough to back it up to a central location, and they didn't want to install a whole nother server in that remote office. So there was stuff like that going on.
Yeah, so it was a case for me that just the reason why I never really bothered with it was the fact that spare hard drives were so cheap. So it's just a case of just physically carrying a hard drive around.
Mm.
Because like I got into everything and started doing stuff when SATA 1 had just come out.
Yeah.
So PATA drives were getting tossed as people were upgrading and stuff.
Yeah. And
so I just got a PATA drive for free that was like, 200 gigs or something. And I was like, friend, here is 90 gigs of stuff that you wanted off of me. Yeah. And then they'd be like, here's a PATA drive back that's empty.
Yeah, and on a cost per gigabyte basis, that probably kind of made sense on account that anyone of that age group that was running a PC would be quite happy to just pop the side panel off and just plug it into the when most people were running parallel ATA hard drives at that point, which meant that you had a parallel ATA ribbon with 2 connectors on it. So basically any computer would have the cabling in it to just plug in another drive.
Yeah.
So that isn't as bonkers as it sounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And rewritable CDs were a pain. Yeah. CD writing has always been a nuisance and terrible and awful. So, yeah.
200 megabytes SATA 1 hard drives. What?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if you go back far enough, there would have been 200 megabytes. But yeah, we're not that old, Quentin.
200 megabytes SATA hard drives, though?
No. No, you were talking about parallel.
Oh, yeah, because, they were drives at the same time.
Banter and SATA USB caddies used to sell like crazy in my shop. Yeah, they were really popular for a long time. And then just USB 2.5-inch USB hard drives became cheap enough that the hard drive caddy no longer made sense. Even now, hard drive caddies have not made sense for a long time because it's cheaper to just buy an external hard drive that is a much nicer form factor. And there was some mileage that if you just written off someone's PC, you take the hard drive out of it and put it in a caddy and go, here's your data. But that had 2 issues with it. Is A, if the hard drive was failing, you'd given them an unreliable backup.
Yeah.
And B, because you'd given them a hard drive that just had their Windows install in it, the customer would be like, I plugged it in and there was just a bunch of folders there and I didn't know what any of it was because they don't know how to drill down to get to the user files.
Yeah.
And that's still something I see today. I had someone come in today with a hard drive that was exactly that another computer shop had given to them on a caddy. It was an old thing, but even still, from the day that they had got it, they said, we've never used this because we didn't know what to do with it. So it kind of proved the fact of it was never actually a useful solution. It covered the shop's ass because they could say, yes, we gave the customer their data, but the customer didn't actually have something useful to them.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the use of caddies is kind of there on NVMe.
I think that's coming in now, yeah.
Now is kind of there, just because also it's a case that plugging NVMe drives into a computer is more effort than plugging in a device with SATA.
Yeah, and also the fact that...
so just being able to easily swap into...
Yeah, and M.2 SSDs in general are becoming cheap enough now that it's 100% viable to get or acquire a used M.2 SSD, whether it's SATA or NVMe, stick it in an enclosure and use it as high-speed external storage because there's nothing else that can touch it for performance because flash drives are garbage and hard drives are also garbage. So suddenly now that's a thing that everyone should be wanting to have as their utility thing.
Yeah.
It bothers me that flash drives are so trash. They're good ones out there, but they're just not economically viable. You have to spend 60 quid to get a flash drive that is not garbage.
Yeah, absolutely.
High-speed external storage that will die without any recovery possibility. You're not wrong, Floor Lamp.
But anything that's external storage is also expendable.
Since the days of floppy disks, we've been telling people, no, don't save your data, don't trust external storage with your data. And also, I agree that we can rank storage on recoverability. However, the solution remains the same, is educating people that you must back up. It's not optional. You know, and I say that to every customer that comes in when we're talking about their computer. I'm like, do you back this up? And they're like, and I'm like, you have to back this up. Let me talk to you about backup solutions. You know, if you don't know how, no worries. I can find you a solution that is cheap and easy to do, but you must back up. And then we don't have to have a conversation about recoverability, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the one good thing about flash storage is obviously the fact of if you drop it or anything, it's not probably dead.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing, actually. And like, that's an interesting question for you, Floorlamp, as well, actually, is that, you know, you say, these M.2 SATA external drives are non-recoverable if they fail, but let's face it, the failure rate on them is going to be substantially lower than a hard drive, because hard drives are going to fail because they're awful, and hard drives are going to fail because people drop them because they don't realize that they've got a 2.5-inch hard drive is a miracle of micro-mechanical electronics, and people just bang them onto the table. They come in, they go. And I'm like, oh, every time they do it, you know. And it's just like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, indeed.
Yeah, drop damage can happen, but like, if you drop a hard drive onto a hard floor, you're done, game over. But if you drop an SSD onto a hard floor, you've got to be unlucky for that to be game over, I would say. All this being said, you know an awful lot more about data recovery than I do, and do an awful lot more data recovery than I do. So,
but it's certainly a case of I know I'd rather keep a SSD in my pocket than keep a hard drive in my pocket.
Yeah, actually, I think that's kind of what I'm trying to allude to here. Is it's a case of
in the sense of we're talking about
it's all very well
this drive that sits in my trousers.
Yeah.
Sits in my trouser pocket, and I copy files to it, copy files off of it, blah 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 blah. All of the stuff that is on it is entirely expendable, and I use it because it's fast storage to move something from home to the shop, from this shop to my work, and so on. And it's a case of
it begs the question: if you're going to be carrying external storage, would you rather it be a hard drive?
I certainly wouldn't, even if this was a 0% chance of recovery. Because I'm not going to spend the time it takes to fill a hard drive with a terabyte of 4 kilobyte files. But I'll spend the time to put a terabyte of kilobyte files on here because it won't take me the rest of the week.
Yeah. I mean, the devil's advocate response is that certainly from someone like Floorlamp's position is that it's all very well us saying, you have to back up, and like, oh, only an idiot doesn't back up and all the rest of it. But this is the real world, and people are not backing up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like that is worth mentioning, you know. So yeah, big advantage of hard drives, CMI. You break it, leave it on a shelf for 10 years, you can still recover. Yeah. So it's, I guess there's, shelf life. Yeah, someone else mentioned this about flash storage not having a good shelf life, and yeah, I think that is a good point, because we have to let's consider a situation here. Someone has a photo library that they're not going to store on their current device because it's someone's got a 300 gigabyte iPhoto library, which is real.
I didn't hear what you said.
Someone has a 300 gigabyte Apple Photos library.
Oh yeah, I'm at about 600 gigs of photos.
There you go then. So someone's got that, and they say, okay, I'm switching over to tablets and my mobile phone now. I don't have a laptop anymore. I can't store all of that on my device. So I'm going to put it on an external device and archive it, right? And everyone's told me that hard drives are awful and that I should use SSDs. And I've got to make sure that I have 2 copies of it. So I'm going to make a copy of it on 2 SSDs, put them in a cupboard. Hell, I'll put one of them at home and one of them in the office. So now they're in 2 different locations as well. In 10 years' time, what if that SSD doesn't, which is more likely to have retained the data, the SSD or the hard drive?
You skipped a step in that, though. The thing it says about your backups is testing them.
But no one does.
No. But yeah. I'm saying as a part of that, you'd say, oh yeah, also the fact of if someone has come to that point where they know that they need to back up and they know they need 2 copies.
Yeah.
I'll be telling them to make sure they have a hard drive and an SSD.
Yeah.
And to check them every now and then when they think about it, because they're already invested. This is the wrong person for this conversation, because they've already said, "Oh, I know I need to back up, and I know I need 2 copies."
I think
You've already won with this person.
I think asking people to test their backups is pushing it.
Yeah, but I'm not saying to test it, because as far as I understand, for storing all the data on an SSD, all you need to do is power it up and read some of the files.
Yeah.
As far as I understand. But I'm not an expert on that.
Yeah. Do not archive SSDs. Yeah. If you don't need to speed, a decent hard drive is still the preferred solution. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So perhaps the answer would be then is just an SSD and a hard drive for its longevity, and an SSD for actual realistic. You might want to access this now and then.
Yeah.
So a hard drive would be the cold storage, and SSD would be the one that you actually do plug in now and then because you want to look at the pictures.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I've no idea how long it would take for it to actually fully discharge like that. But I'm presuming that you could look at it once a year. Once every 6 months, and it not really be a concern. Or do I need to rewrite the entire set of data every 6 months?
Yeah. What about SSD, HDD, and cloud storage? Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about bomb-proof backup solutions, then yeah, certainly I would certainly factor cloud into that somewhere.
Yeah. Because, my comment very much that would be very much just chucking it on OneDrive, Google Photos, etc., and saying, here is one of your copies that you can view live from any device, and here is your hard drive, effectively.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, is
because it also makes it live and usable.
Yeah, because I'm trying to review this from the perspective of someone who has been told that they need to back up, but let's face it, how often are they actually going to do it? They've got the will now, but are they going to, like if you say to them, you've got to plug this in now and then to make sure it's still alive, how often are they actually going to do that? Be real. Like with me, like most of my backup is cloud backup. My cold storage backup, that don't get updated every month. I can tell you that much.
Like, I don't have one.
Oh yeah,
I don't have one at all.
So do you just rely 100% that not all of your computers will be on at any given time?
No, it's all just on OneDrive.
Yeah. See, what happens if your Microsoft account gets arbitrarily banned because nonsense?
I lose the data.
Fair enough. Yeah.
The thing I'll be more pissed about is configs and things that are saved into that than anything
Yeah, but what about
else.
your 400 gigs of photos? Boohoo.
Kind of, because I'm not looking at them anyway. I'm only keeping them because it seems incredibly Machiavellian to delete them all.
Yeah.
It seems incredibly...
that goes into a broader discussion
It seems very villainous to just go through and delete them all.
Yeah.
I'm keeping them because it seems like the socially correct thing to do.
That leads into an interesting discussion.
Which is why I don't overly get involved in the conversation, because to me, the data that's important to me is transient things that are presently existing in my life. Like my Discord messages.
Yeah, something live in the moment, instead of worrying about taking pictures of it. Yeah.
Not even that commentary, just a case of like, if I lost all those photos, I could go out and take new ones. And they would be better photos, because I'm better at taking photos now. There are maybe 10, maybe 15 photos I would care about losing.
Yeah.
And even then, they're photos I probably shouldn't care about losing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I am not the person for this conversation, because I do not have any value in any of the data.
Yeah.
I'd be most pissed about my game saves.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you big time about the whole I archive photos because it seems like the right thing to do. And like, I don't
have any pictures from my childhood at all. I don't have any whatsoever.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's just a case
of
like...
I don't want any.
Yeah, I feel like the memory is more useful anyway, just because like you can look at a picture and be like, oh, that's me as a kid. But I don't... Well, we're getting into a really meta conversation here where we're trying to gauge being able to look at a photo and be like, oh, that was me, versus you're having a conversation with your mother and her saying, oh, yeah, you used to play in the garden with X and things. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that kind of thing. If she showed you a picture of something you don't remember, you could look at that and be like, I can see that's me, but I don't remember this, so this has no value to me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but again, this is an extremely meta conversation. So,
Absolutely. No. I entirely understand that I am such a statistical outlier that my involvement in this conversation is only by parroting what other people suggest about making sure things are backed up.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've got a lot of pictures of stuff that I'm just like, oh, I remember this, and I'd be sad if I lost this. But then, like, I've had data loss before. I have lost a chunk of my photo library in the past.
Lots of photos of his exploits in Monaco.
Yeah.
No, there are no photos of those exploits. We do not want the tabloids having them.
I've lost photos in the past where I lost a chunk of photos because basically the thumbnails were preserved, but the actual originals weren't. So I didn't realize that the originals were gone until it was too late.
That to me would be worse.
Yeah, that sucked. However, and I was kind of sad about that, but like I still remember those things anyway. I forgot. I was going to make another point about it, but I've forgotten now.
Yeah, I tried for a while to take a single photo of every event I went to, purely because it sat on Google Photos, date stamped and timed with me going to the event. And then I realised that I don't care. I never looked at them, and I only had them because I thought that I should, not because I wanted them. So it's just kind of...
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm just like, yeah.
Ahoy, Muerto. Save me a biscuit. These are, in fact, Tesco finest caramelized biscuit bites. Belgian white and Belgian blonde chocolate coated in caramelized biscuit pieces with marshmallows and crisped rice. All right.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Don't worry, Carol Dog. Paparazzi have the evidence, but they don't. That's the point. Not yet.
They'll never get out of the country alive. I have people in place. Very well. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it data retention is that weird thing where it's there's stuff that is irreplaceable, but does irreplaceable mean that it has value? But I don't know. But remember when this was a show about tech, and now we're just talking about meta stuff again? Like I keep saying, this is a meta conversation, and we're not doing this. We're not having this conversation. But also, is a memory worth more than a photograph?
Is the memory even your memory, or simply the most recent retelling of that memory by someone else?
No!
Were you even present at the event you think you remember, or are you creating a fabricated memory because someone told you at the event and showed you a doctored photograph of the event?
I have memories where 100% I do not know if it was a dream or if it was a thing that actually happened.
Oh, I have several memories of our very first house where I'm like, these aren't real memories. I know these are fake.
Oh, they're just fabricated from knowledge kind of thing.
Yeah, because they're not even of our first house. They're of a friend's house.
Ah, yes.
They're of a friend's house, but somehow in my head, I have implanted myself into those memories as living in that location as my first house.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I was like...
Yeah. Yeah, because like I have a memory of my family going to visit another family who were their friends, and we were at their house and they had kids and we played together, and it was a reasonable car drive to get there and back. And again, no idea if that any of that is real or not. It's definitely old, but like there's not enough detail. Like even if I ask my mother, there's not enough detail there for me to know whether, like, I couldn't give her enough detail. She would just be like, give me something more than this. Like tell me about who were they? What were their names? Where did they live? What was the house like? I'm like, I don't know. I can't remember enough.
Yeah.
So there's no way that I will ever know if that was real or not.
Yeah. But it's a case of, it's the fact of, to get incredibly meta about this again, it's the fact of the only memories I hold as being real ones from when I was a child were ones where I was alone and have never told anyone about them. Because then no one else could have fabricated them for me, if that makes sense.
No one else could have implanted them.
Yeah. To derail it in that statement, yes, absolutely. But in that sense, they could not have been dreamt up. They could have not been modified by conversation with someone else and so on.
Yes.
They are my recollection of that event, my recollection of that period of time.
Yeah.
They are all me. Real or not, they are all me.
Yes. There is no bias from someone else about these.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, are we all enjoying Starfield? No, I don't care.
Why not?
I don't know what Starfield is about. I don't know why, but I just don't care about Starfield.
I am surprisingly interested in it, based off of a single Digital Foundry video where they launched it and went, I played for 20 hours on my Xbox and it didn't crash. And I'm like, I am surprisingly interested because this is a Bethesda game that didn't crash on day one. I am shocked.
Fair enough.
I am coloured impressed.
Yeah. No, like for the past couple of weeks, I've had a couple of people, like Si included, being like, "Oh, are you going to play Starfield on stream?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know what it is, and I don't care." It's not that I don't know. For some reason, I just don't care about Starfield.
Yeah,
it's Fallout in space. Yeah, probably
space.
Bye. Who is Rick Mail?
I mean, I am aware, but also like, what?
Try playing it on Arc. It's impossible. Yeah, I've heard that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Arc just won't run it. And if you do manage to force it to run, it will do weird and wacky things.
That sounds amazing.
There are videos. So yeah. No Man's Sky, but not full of lies. No Man's Sky made a comeback. No Man's Sky is an actual redemption arc. I'm not saying that they didn't screw up at the beginning. They did, but No Man's Sky have paid their dues. Hello Games have paid their dues. And if anyone doesn't know, look up the internet historian, the Goodening of No Man's Sky. And it actually details everything that went wrong and how they actually ended up delivering on everything and more by the end of it all. It's like, for everything that was wrong with No Man's Sky on day one, they have paid their dues. They made up for it. They finished it. They did update after update after update, and it was all free. They just kept working on it until it was good and said, we screwed up. Here is everything that we once promised.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah, all of the things that were ridiculous and would never have been possible. Here is all of that stuff that we promised that was impossible to achieve and we couldn't achieve. We have done it all,
There's near perfect scaling with RAM speed. Amazing. I love it already. But yes, someone's saying here about, wasn't it optimized for AMD?
As in Starfield?
Yes. From what I have heard from sources that do come out. The rumor do come out. There we go.
Does Bruno Mars is gay?
Yes. Is that in fact the games software team at Nvidia was pilfered for persons, and they were perchance placed in, I can't think of a P word for AI. Fuck. They were moved to the AI teams off of the game teams.
Plosive.
But yes, they were moved off of the games teams onto the AI teams. Therefore, the drivers were not game ready-ified. So,
Either way, apparently, if you update your graphics drivers, everything's hunky dory,
I
except
meant
Intel.
I meant the performance scaling.
Oh, I
just
see.
the fact of like
Yeah.
the 1700 XTX is basically the same speed as a 4090, and it shouldn't be. It should be like
Yeah.
a little bit slower. And
The data
stuff.
set is too big to fit into the AMD 3D cache. I mean, I don't know if that's saying anything or not, but
Interesting though.
Yeah, this does bring up a point that I was going to talk about, because you were talking earlier on about how you've got no interest in Ryzen 7000 at the moment, and like you're waiting.
Yeah.
You're waiting for upgrades because where you're a 5800 X3D, aren't you?
Yeah.
Because you're on a 5800 X3D, there is no meaningful upgrade for you at the moment.
Yeah.
And you were talking about AMD getting DDR5 8000 mega transfer support and stuff like that. And I didn't say to you earlier on, but one of the things that was on my mind was like, I feel like what we really want at the moment is to fix the scheduling issue with the X3D CPUs. So like the 7950 X3D can actually stretch its legs because scheduling works,
Kind of.
Because the problem with those top-end CPUs at the moment, you may as well buy the 7800 X3D because there's no scheduling issues with it.
Well,
whereas the top-end ones they are theoretically really fast, but in reality, Windows Scheduler just cannot figure it out.
Yeah. Arguably, it's a no win situation, zero sum. Because the answer is you always need the cores with the fastest access to the cache that the thread you're running is in. It doesn't matter where that is. It matters that the thread is operated on by the core that is the closest to that. And if it's in a separate CCD, doesn't matter what the scheduling's like. The cache is on the wrong CCD.
Well, that's the point, is you want the game to put all of its stuff into the 3D cache and use the 3D cache
absolutely.
CCD.
But having another CCD will never give you more performance.
I see your point.
Irrespective of scheduling working or not working, having another CCD will not give you more performance.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Because you are not total thread limited.
Yeah. Yes, I understand.
Maybe in 30 years' time, when we have 16 thread games that don't have a single master thread.
Yeah.
Sure, maybe.
Yeah.
But by that time, a 7950X will be so ungodly slow that it's irrelevant.
Yeah. And likewise, there's an argument to be made that if you're running like a streaming setup where you have a very big workload on a single piece, a very big multitasking workload on a single CPU, the scheduling would help make sure that the right things are being done by the right cores. But again, that's a very niche situation now and not relevant. So, yeah. Biggest issue is that it doesn't support 32:9 aspect ratio, the monsters. See, that's kind of annoying as well. Like, WAN show were talking a lot about Starfield, which again is why I didn't really care. But they recorded a video where they were talking about the release of Starfield, and apparently the graphical settings for it are really odd, and there's a lot of basic stuff that just cannot be manually set, and it's very black box-ish, to the tune of, like, you can't set the native render resolution. There is only resolution scaling, and the resolution scaling is different depending on what your monitor resolution is set to. And so if you have two people who set the game to 100% scaling high settings, and one of them is at a different resolution, they may get different texture resolution settings and stuff like that. And so it's just, so there's no consistency per se. So yeah, there's kind of oddball things going on with that. And it kind of alludes to an issue with modern AAA gaming where the graphical options are garbage, which seems to be a case with not all, but certainly some AAA games. Well, some games. So yes. But yeah, not having 32:9 aspect ratio support seems a bit odd. It's just like, it's a modern game engine. Why can't you just do any aspect ratio?
Yes. Why is arbitrary aspect ratio not entirely possible?
Yeah, it's a console port. I guess, yeah. That is, yeah, so I guess it's just a symptom of the porting problem, where most of the AAA games that have these issues because they're bad ports. You miss low, medium, and high. Keep it simple. See, I like having the presets low, medium, and high as a baseline, and then I want to tweak certain features in a game, because low, medium, and high gives you baseline stuff that will set a good baseline. But I want to, for example, typically what I'm going to do in a game is I'm going to set it to, say, high settings, and then I'm going to go through and switch off all of the post-processing that I hate, like motion blur, and depending on the developer, depth of field, because a lot of people just don't know how to depth of field. And so yeah, I want to set high settings, and then I want to disable certain settings, and I want a frame rate limiter. Give me the frame rate limiter. Don't make me use VSync. Don't force me to have to do this in my graphics drivers. Just let me set my target frame rate. So yes, hot take, I love motion blur. You're dead to me, Floor Lamp.
I'm sorry, but you're wrong.
Or you're at 30 FPS, in which case you're also wrong, so yeah. The build engine is super odd compared to most games. Yeah. This is often a problem. I mean, people misusing game settings, I often see as an issue with people using just the Unreal Engine, because often you just see a lot of stock settings for the Unreal Engine, but not the useful ones. And, you know, like, on Thursday, I was playing a Sonic fan game called Sonic Origins that was built on the Unreal Engine. And I didn't carry through on it because I hadn't prepared beforehand, but I was like, let's play the Unreal Engine fan game bingo card of how they've just switched on all of the post-processing because they think that makes it look good, without any thought put into what the post-processing is good for, which ones you should have on and which ones you should have off. Ergo, you don't need motion blur when you're at 60 FPS and up. Motion blur is designed to cover for poor frame rates. Now, there is like the per object motion blur argument.
Per object motion blur should be on basically any FPS.
But that's not what most motion blur is actually doing. Most motion blur is just simply just smearing frames, which just turns your frames to mush.
And also, I think you should certainly get speed motion blur on a reasonable amount of stuff for, you know, fringing and things like that.
That can be nice. Like in a racing game, when you're going fast, a little bit of blur helps you get that I'm going fast sensation.
Certainly when they, you know, specifically talk about racing game, it's like a track racing game.
Yeah.
Where obviously intentionally implies this is, again, per object, but it applies to all of the scenery and so on.
Yeah.
But the actual markers aren't.
Yes.
Because they're things that you're actually going to be focusing on and wouldn't have motion blur on because your relative motion to them is a straight line.
Yes. Yeah. Florian says, when I was working in a game design studio, tell me more. We would add post-processing filters to hide obvious problems with the engine and or weird world design. My point exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, most post-processing is designed to cover for something that they don't want you to see, like poor frame rates and stuff like that. But yeah, some of it can be done well though. Like I said, you know, motion blur can be done well. Depth of field, when it's done right, it's great. I've said this on my Twitch streams often. Like FromSoft know how to do depth of field. In a FromSoft game, everything will be in focus, and then like now and then you'll walk out into an open vista and they'll do a depth of field shift, and it will shift as your sightline goes from what you're looking at to the back, as in the background will come into view. Or they'll do a cutscene where they will do selective depth of field to make sure that you're looking in the cinematic location they want you to be looking in, and the bit that they want you to look at comes into focus when they want you to look at it. You know, that is good use of depth of field. A bad example is A Hat in Time, where depth of field basically means that your draw distance is 10 meters because everything else is a smeary mess.
Yeah.
I love Hat in Time, but the first thing you do in that game is you switch off depth of field.
And
then,
I like it in it's not exactly depth of field, but a similar way of playing with it is like in the Ori games, because it's on a tile card system. For the different depths is obviously the way that they blur things as they go between the different layers and stuff, and just forcing you to follow it and then not, and so on. Because obviously it's a cinematic effect.
Yeah, when it's done right, it's great. I think but I've got a lot of distaste for a lot of post-processing just because the number of times I've seen it just not done right. You know, it's like when people just arbitrarily add particles everywhere because particles are cool. You know, like I see this in VR chat as well. Like when you go to a VR chat world and there's just floating particles everywhere, which is just really annoying because you keep feeling like there's a speck of dust in front of your eyes. And
I can imagine that being particularly egregious in VR.
Yeah. And like the person who made that world, when they were looking at it on the preview camera and there were just like nice little glowy bits in the world, they're like, oh, that looks pretty. But when you're actually standing in the world in VR, you're just like, can you not, you know? So yes, that and people who use weird lighting effects in VR chat as well. Like, I don't want to go on a rant here about VR chat, but now and then you'll go to a world where just the entire world ambient lighting is at like 8,000 degrees Kelvin, and your character that is like, you know, has warm color temperature colors to them will just look grey because you're in cold lighting kind of thing. And you're like, cool, now I look like shit in this world, you know. So yeah, you always forget that Graham is such a massive nerd that he spends time in VR chat. I do yoga in VR chat, I'll have you know. And it's cool. It's good fun. But yes. I've run out of things to talk about. That's the end of my rant. So yeah.
I don't know this man. Yoga and VR.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's my weekly exercise. That and doing dancing. Like the Slime VR group, they have yoga on Mondays, and on Wednesdays they do you know, Just Dance for like Wii and stuff like that, where you there is a VR chat world which is basically just a port of Just Dance, and it tracks your movements in the VR world. It's really clever, and it can do that for full body tracking and everything. So we play Just Dance in VR, and it's really good fun, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's got VR. It's a giggle. Now and then there'll be a song where I'm just like, I feel like this song and the dance that accompanies it is for 12-year-olds. But also now and then you'll do a funny cat dance and you'll smile because you still have a beating human heart. Caradog smiles nervously, nervous meatly. I'm drinking now, it's helping. Yeah, Caradog's looking at his empty cup right now, I think, so yeah.
But no, one thing I do want to do in VR is F122 with the wheel in it. Oh, because that will be wild, I imagine.
Yeah, you bought a wheel, didn't you? Tell the world, well, all 12 of them, about your wheel.
Yeah, I bought a Fanatec's wheel. I'm going onto my email to remember which stuff I bought, but yes.
Yes, I have knowledge about this topic, I say, getting out my references.
Congrats, you're a YouTube Premium. Why, thank you. Oh, where have all my emails gone? My emails, they've gone. They've been hacked. They've been deleted.
Have you suffered a data loss of all of your 400 gigabytes of emails and pictures.
But no, I bought. What did I buy? I bought the Fantex CSL DD 5 Newton meter.
Okay.
Which is not a wheel. It is purely the control box.
Yeah, and that's got like the motor and stuff in
Yes,
it.
yeah. Then I bought the Club Sport steering wheel Formula V 2.5X, which is the fancy wheel.
Okay.
And then I got the standard CSL pedals and a desk mount. But
Fair
yes.
enough. Didn't I repair a Fanatec wheel? I can't remember
You
what
had a
brand.
Thrustmaster.
Yeah. I think it was I've done
the Ferrari Thrustmaster.
Yeah, I've done a Logitech and a Thrustmaster. So the Thrustmaster was close, but it wasn't direct drive. It was a good Thrustmaster. You know, it was like 600 quid's worth of wheel, I think. Yeah, it wasn't. Oh wow, that's like a proper F1 looking wheel and everything, isn't it?
Right.
That looks baller. Are we on desktop view?
No.
Yeah, show the people.
There we go. There's the picture I wanted. Pow.
Yeah. Yeah, that does look really badass.
Oh,
like if you want to play F1 in VR, that's what you want. Like you don't even get to look at it, but that will feel awesome. You know, that's going to feel like a real F1 wheel in your hands, kind of thing. Yeah. How much was it?
400 euros.
400 euros. That's just for the wheel, man. Yeah. How much was like the box then?
And then the actual motory bit is 170 euros.
That's not bad. I thought that was going to be more. I'm glad that's not terribly expensive, considering it's basically a motor in a box.
Come on. Their website is horrendously slow.
I never understand people who have really slow websites. It's just like, AWS exists, bro.
But yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Where am I? Racing wheelbase. There we go.
I do appreciate that they make all these different styles of wheels. So, like, if you're racing sim and you want to do racing sims in classic cars, you can buy a classic car style wheel that's like a ship wheel kind of thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
This and that are exactly the same thing. This one has the discount applied before purchase.
Yeah.
This one has the discount applied in your car, because there is a discount there running where if you buy a wheel in pedals, this instead of being 350 becomes 200.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it's just odd.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh well.
And then there's an upgrade pack you can get that takes it to 8 Newton meters, which is cool.
Fair enough.
So it can break your wrists.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But yeah, it keeps trying to upsell you to these.
Yeah. I'm not surprised for the... Oh, I just saw the price on them. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, 1,500 euros.
Yeah. Yep. You want immersive, but yeah, you don't need that immersive.
But yeah, so...
Yeah, fair enough. So are you expecting those this week?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I've no idea. There is zero indication as to shipping time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fair enough.
And then if you wanted to later, the boost kit's 150 quid, which isn't terrible.
That's what boosts it up to 8 Newton meters. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally just a different power supply.
Part of me feels like that's a bit naff that it's capable of doing that, but you got to buy just a bigger power supply.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, I'm bashing my microphone. Also, anyway.
But yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. However, the direction I was going is that would potentially be an interesting podcast when that all rocks up, and we could just spend a podcast like just tinkering, setting that up, and being like, okay, this is how this all goes together.
Yeah.
And like we can try it on a monitor, and like I'll bring my reverb in, and we can VR it. You know.
Yeah, but I do like the fact that you've got all of these different wheels that you can have on it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know anything about this one.
That looks like a spaceship.
But Yeah, eventually,
when it loads.
whenever it
Yeah.
loads, whenever it loads, just but yeah, I'm trying to get big pictures, but apparently that's really hard.
Mm.
And then also, there's a separate set you can get for paddle shifters. There's 180 euros on its
Oh
own.
yeah, I mean the rabbit hole is deep on this stuff. Like we haven't even started talking about pedals yet, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and then you've got the pedals. But yeah, I like that you've just got all of these options and so on.
it's cool that it's all from one site as well. You know, you can like get this from the same manufacturer, so you know it's all going to work together and stuff like that. Yeah.
So yeah, but even pedals,
Fair enough. Yeah.
shifter sets.
Yeah, you think for that amount they charge, they could afford a decent server for their website. Yeah, every now and then I encounter a manufacturer that just has a slow website, and it's just like, how? How is it possible in this day and age to have a website this slow? You know.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want a
shifter,
a sequential shifter, 260 euros.
Oof, and that's just sequential.
Yeah, it's purely a sequential shifter.
If that was a H pattern, sure, but it's sequential. It's basically just an up and a down.
Right?
Yeah, I don't understand.
I mean, you can get different knobs.
I think the only
no,
way...
it is an H pattern.
Oh, okay, that's slightly
so why is it
less
called,
awful.
So why was it referring to it as a sequential? I've no idea.
Yeah.
Probably because you can use it as both. You can probably use second and fourth as a sequential mode.
Yeah, it probably just has a back and forward. So yeah.
But yeah.
I take it you're going to assume a desk mount, a desk clamp mount for
at least
everything.
initially. Yeah. But yeah. That makes more sense. But no, I do not have one of these. I do not need one of these.
No. Yeah, like if you're playing F1, you're paddle shifting, aren't you?
Yeah, everything's a paddle shifter for anyway.
Me, if I were going to get a sim setup, I would want to do a rally setup. So I would want no, because modern rally cars you have a big paddle shifter with a back and a forward on it, and you have a massive heckin' lever of a handbrake.
Yeah,
that's more or less what they're running. They do have they do have a sequential shifter lever as well, but most of them seem to use a big paddle for an up and a down. Oh yeah, there's the paddles. So yeah.
I'm just like, what? What do I do with this?
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
It looks cool. But like, look at all the bolt patterns on there. You can adjust where it all moves to and stuff
absolutely.
like that. It's cool that it exists.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm just like, what? And like, you bolt different wheels to the front of it, I guess. And it's got like all of these buttons at the top and stuff. Attach any rim. Yeah, you attach different rims to this hub, and then you adjust the clusters in different places. But yeah, I do like the fact that, if I remember correctly, I think the podium motor control set uses the same quick release steering thing as quick release wheels do for actual cars.
Yeah.
So you can just bang like a standard car wheel.
Theoretically, you could put a real one on. Yeah.
Because also like the podium thing, I can't remember what it is an obnoxious amount of torque, so it can take the much larger wheel size.
Probably cheaper to buy a cheap track car. See, this is a valid thing to say, and like because the pros and cons, because like for a lot of the time, you know, you can buy real stuff and actually get the quote unquote real experience, but also it's a case of like, you know, I own a fast car, I could take it to a track. I'm not going to, you know. You can do this at your home in your underwear at 2 a.m, you know, which is where the advantage comes in there. And yeah, it's cool that this stuff exists, basically. But however, I have to admit, not something I'm going to invest in the future. But then on the flip side, I spent a bunch of money on VR so I could do yoga in VR. Not a huge amount of money, that much being said. I did VR for as cheap as I possibly could, but I certainly know a lot of people who've dumped at least a couple of £1,000 into a VR setup so they can play VR chat and stand in front of a mirror with a bunch of furries. It's a running gag for the amount of money people will spend to do that, you know. But yeah, up to 25 newton meters. That'll flip your desk, bro. Just you hold onto the wheel and your desk revolves, you know.
Right.
Steve Higgins says, I frequently drive my car at 2 a.m. in my underwear. They haven't caught me yet.
But just the fact of it's just like, yes, 25 newton meters of torque.
Yeah. Cheaper than a fursuit. And ironically, you're right. And you're closer to the truth than I would care to admit there. Yeah.
But yes, I bought those
a racing
bits.
wheel. Fair enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it should be getting delivered here at some point.
Fair enough. Cool. We'll make it a date. That'll be coming up within the next couple of weeks, I guess.
Because, whenever that turns up.
Because again, this is stuff where I'm just like, man, I'd love to make a video about this, and it's just like, is that a mainline channel video? I don't know.
But guess what I do have? I have a podcast.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we could spend a podcast setting it up and tinkering with it and learning about it. And then once we've done that, we could then make an actual video where we talk about it as if we know what we're talking about because we've just figured it all out. That could be a vehicle there. Like this is an experiment I did with the B&O sensor repairs. I did the podcast where I figured out the repair and then I made a mainline video about it. And like that format works quite well. And you know, like the diehards who want to see all of the gory details can watch the discovery in the podcast, and the people who want something that is more to the point can watch the mainline video where I'm doing a lot less flapping and faffing. So yeah.
Speaking of dates, when am I coming over for a podcast? Whenever you get in a goddamn plane.
Yeah, unironically. Yeah, we'll make time for you, dude. Yeah.
Get on the damn plane.
Or on a train.
Or possibly a boat.
Yes, there was a song about that. You can reach me by aeroplane or caravan or train or it was a female singer, 90s song. Someone help me. Anyway, yeah. Speaking of VR, how the fixed slime VR thingy is behaving. Don't know yet. Haven't used them. I'll grab my prototype as an interest thing. Because I'm interested in it, so I'll now make it your problem.
Wild floor lamp coming on the 23rd when Sai and Postal are here.
Not going to say no. That's a lot of people at the same time, but at the same time, like,
no, this was Sai's idea, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you're not lovely, Sai, but
yeah,
there's only so much. I mean, we can now just move the camera over there and just take up the entire side of the shop.
Yeah, it's true, because we've got a better layout now. Like
we just zoom out and move the desk forwards, and suddenly...
Yeah, we actually can do that. There just need to be a bit of a plan. I don't know. We'd have to figure out. It gets chaotic when there's lots of people, so I would want to have a much bigger plan of what we were doing. So there would be times where I could be like, right, you guys are doing a bit now. I'm just going to sit to one side, you know, and stuff like that.
Don't worry, we expect you to come and complain about everything. It's all we've ever seen you do.
Alita Atoms, get here, yeah.
You can reach me by railway,
yeah,
you can reach me by trailway, you can reach me on an aeroplane, you can reach me with your mind. You can reach me by caravan, cross the desert like an Arab man. I don't care how you get here, just get here if you can.
There we go. Yeah. However, yeah, prototype tracker design. Give me a bench cam. It's not that interesting, but just because people asked. So yeah, new tracker design is basically going to be that. This is what I'm working on at the moment. So we've got the D1 Mini, which is the MCU. These are the fixed B&O sensors, and I'm going to be running this is a 14500 cell. It's the size of a AA battery. except it's a 3.7 volt lithium ion. And there'll be a AA holder there holding it in place. So it's that, then there'll be a slot cut in at the top and the bottom for the strap to go through, and this will be the new tracker design. This one I've just made on perf board and just run jumper wires because I couldn't figure out how the hell perf board works. So jumper wires and stuff. But this is the design I'm going for. And I'm going to, this weekend, I'm learning KiCad or KiCad, I don't know how you pronounce it. And I'm going to design a custom PCB and get it manufactured. So I've got a nice blue PCB with the slots machined into it and rounded corners and stuff, and it'll look really cool. So it's going to be a couple of weeks before I actually have one of these that's like ready to go. But yeah, the 14500 idea, I'm still got mixed opinions on, because the cool part of it is that I don't need a charge board, because now I can just pop these cells out of the trackers and stick them into a charger. However, the reality is that this tracker has ended up being bigger than my first trackers. My first trackers were this big with a flat cell underneath them. And these ones are going to end up being the same size with a cell strapped to the side. However, the advantage is that instead of having JST wires to disconnect the battery and plug the battery into something, I can now actually remove the battery and stick it into a discrete charger. So
everyone in the chat, PCB sponsorship, PCB sponsorship. Are you the only channel not sponsored by PCBWay?
Basically, yeah, I need to look through my inbox, because I probably have an email from one of these companies, because they do email me routinely. The difficulty is they want me to design a PCB to get made, and I'm like, I don't have any ideas. I don't know what I'd make.
I don't know what I do.
Yeah. However, now I actually have an excuse to make a PCB and get it manufactured. So yeah, that's actually that's unironically the direction I'm going in with this. So yeah, that's kind of what I got in mind. I did buy enough perf board to just make a set on perf board, but man, perf board looks like garbage. And you're supposed to like bridge along the joins, but I could not get the solder to bridge along the dots. And also, like, it's difficult to do jumpers and and stuff like that. So, and like I made this, and I'm like, this looks jank as hell. And the point of making new trackers was that they would be really slick and look really. They wouldn't look like IEDs, basically. My current ones look like IEDs, and I would like ones that don't look like IEDs. And also, I want ones where everything is modular, and like I can just remove parts and replace them. Whereas my current ones, they're shrink wrapped together. So you've got to cut the shrink wrap, fix it all, then hold it together and put new shrink wrap on it and stuff. And I don't have any nice shrink wrap, and just nah. So yeah, have you seen the Sony Makopi trackers? They're meh. Sony Makopi, it's great idea, but the problem is, because they're Bluetooth, they have a lot of lag. Because the Makopi trackers, they're adorable and cute, but they Bluetooth to your phone. Then your phone has to communicate with your computer, and then your computer then communicates with VR chat or whatever. So they have a lot of lag in them, basically. That seems to be that's the complaint I've heard the most of. The full body tracking community is very meh about them. They're good for like VTubers and stuff like that. For people who want simple body tracking where accuracy isn't super important, they're great. But if you're actually in VR chat and you want really low latency, really high accuracy, they're just meh, basically. And for a $400 to $500 setup, they're not a compelling argument. Basically, for serious people, there are better options out there. So that seems to be the opinion of Makopi. I've not tried it though. I think the principal issue is that they have to connect to your smartphone. Then your smartphone talks to your computer. That extra step is what brings in all the problems. If they'd made them so they could communicate directly to a PC, there probably wouldn't be an issue. What the fuck is a VTuber? So that's someone who uses a 3D or 2D animated character as their persona on a stream. You will have seen VTubers before. So if you go to a Twitch stream and someone's got a 2D animated character or a 3D model that talks to you, that's a VTuber.
Oh, no.
A virtual YouTuber.
I thought for a second that they'd only made it compatible with Sony Android phones or the iPhone. I was just like, Sony, with the best will in the world, I'd be amazed if 17 people had bought your phones.
So yeah.
But no.
Didn't they release a firmware to fix that, if I remember correctly? I'm not sure on Limited Slash, if I'm honest. I have to admit, this is hearsay, my opinion here. I've not used Makopi, and I've only heard from other people who have heard from other people about it. But suffice to say, the full body tracking community is not excited about Makopi. At the moment...
Makopi?
Yeah. Full body tracking, right now, it's... it really comes down to Vive trackers, which are great, but they're expensive, and occlusion is a real problem. Like, if you're running Vive trackers, if you lay down on a bed, one of your lighthouses immediately is not going to be able to see one of your leg trackers. And that just drastically reduces the accuracy on it. If you have... the other one is Tundra trackers, which are similar to Slimes. Don't know how good they are. Again, some people go for them. Then the other option is Slime VR, which is what I use. And Slime VR, the production ones are back-ordered into the Stone Age and are only just getting shipped at the moment, or you have to DIY. Now, for me, I DIY, so it's not a problem, which is why I use Slime VR. But if you're not an electronics expert, if you're just someone who just enjoys VR chat, asking you to build an electronic widget and then build another 6 of them to strap to your body, quite a tall order. So that's the pros and cons.
Interesting. Apparently, the reviews of the Sony body tracking thing is, it drifts. Oh my god, it drifts.
That's game over then. Like, Slime has drift, but also the Slime program has an enormous amount of fettling put into it to compensate for drift and handle the drift. So, like, my trackers have drift where every 20 minutes or so, I'll look down and find that my leg is just sideways slightly. Because one of the trackers has just slowly moved out of alignment, you know. But the solution to that is that, A, this is reduced by the fact of the system is watching the trackers. And if it's seeing, like, I'm wearing 8 trackers when I have the full set on, which is feet, ankles, thighs, hip, chest, and hip. And if it sees one of them doing this while the rest of them are not, it knows that that tracker is drifting, and it can just ignore that input because none of the other trackers agree with that movement. So there is stuff like that. In addition to that, this is what tap to reset is for. Whereas if I double tap my left leg, it will do a reset. So I double tap my left leg, stand straight, and it will immediately reset the position of all the trackers. And because that's just a tap your leg, you know, you don't have to stop or leave the situation. You literally just go tap, stand straight, reset, and you're back into the game. So you can do that, like, while I'm having a conversation with someone in VR chat. If I've spotted it, I can just do that, and they won't even notice that I've done it.
Yeah.
They'll just see me stand straight for a moment. You don't have to T-pose. You know, literally, you just stand straight while it just straightens out the trackers. So again, the Slime VR's drift compensation and management is very good.
And then you check IRL and find your leg is actually bent that way. Ah!
This would be concerning.
Help me!
But yeah. So yes.
Oculus 3?
It's too expensive.
What is Oculus 3?
Quest 3.
Oh.
Yeah. It's too expensive. Seems to that seems to be the consensus from everyone. It's, you know, like, in terms of design and feature set and everything, it's fine.
500 quid.
Yeah, but it's just not what people want right now. So yeah, because like the Quest 2 was an amazing choice because it was £300 at one point. It was £300 for a mid-range VR headset. Whereas now it's 500 quid for a mid-range VR headset. You know. So yeah.
My question continues to be, when am I going to see the Vive 2?
Yeah, that's the issue. Is that
basically
there's no real mid-range options, because also the Quest is a weird animal because you're paying £500, and because it's a standalone headset, half the money you're paying for is its standalone capabilities, which any serious VR player isn't using anyway. Because any serious VR player is doing PC VR. So anyone who's actually using a Quest is going to be using it tethered with a link cable, or they're using Airlink to stream PC VR from their PC. And yeah, Vive are nowhere at the moment because the XR Elite just isn't very good.
Isn't it?
No.
Oh, that's disappointing.
It's just not. At the very least, the Oculus, the Quest Pro is better. The Quest Pro is just better than the Vive. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the random McLaren edition. What?
Sure. So yeah, and yeah, Vive just they don't. I can't remember how old the Vive Pros are. But yeah, that's 1100. Well, that's got decent resolution. Yeah. You know what?
Up to 120 hertz, 120 degrees. Yeah. That's not terrible.
I'm not sure why people aren't. Not sure what the problem with that is. Because that looks pretty good. Because at the moment, a lot of people,
it's got true IPD control as well.
Anything decent will.
Oh yeah, but good. It has got true IPD.
Yeah. You know, like my Reverb has real IPD. But yeah, the index people are crying for an Index 2, but because the Index has been the weapon of choice for a long time. But the problem is the Index is just getting old, and its specs just aren't very impressive anymore. You know,
maybe the controllers are naff.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure. I don't know what the answer there is. I mean, but that's still £1,000. You know, I think what people.
So? That wasn't my question.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, you want a good experience, not a cheap experience. Yeah. What people want is something like the PlayStation VR 2, but for PC.
I mean, from what I've heard from a single person, who was the fact of, we don't want the Sony VR on PC because it's garbage. And I was just like, interesting comment.
Oh.
Yeah.
Spec-wise, it seemed to be it seemed to be great. Rich1880, thank you for the $2. Thanks, Mouse. Thanks. And a tenner from William Rollinger to help with the new mics. Thank you very much. Much appreciated to both of you. Sony VR 2 is the one I'd be referring to.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciated.
Because what is the recommendation for high-end headsets and stuff?
Yeah, again, there's just no one's really sure at the moment, just because there's just not a lot out there, because most of the big brands, they're making stuff like the Quest, they're making standalone headsets like the Vive XR and the Quest Pro, which is, you know, yeah, I think a lot of people at the moment are more interested in stuff like Pimax and the Pico, and the Pico 4. But the problem is that these ones have they have build quality issues. Like the Pimax is known for having dead pixels, and the software for it just doesn't have the same level of polish that the big brands have.
January 2024.
Yeah. And the other issue as well is stuff like with Pimax, you see 12K and you're like, wow, 12K. It's like, man, who's got a PC that can drive that? You know, that's the issue. You know, you see 12K and you're like, wow, so high resolution. It's just like, You know, like, man, I'm trying to drive dual 2K displays on my Reverb G2, and that's tough, you know. But yeah.
2560, 1440 per eye, yeah.
Yeah. One thing that the Pimax does deliver in spades, though, is that field of view. You know, the field of view on it is nuts, apparently. But also, I don't know if the lenses can deliver on that, because if you're going to put in a really big field of view, your lenses need to be spectacular. Because, as an example, my HP Reverb G2 has I can't remember what the field of view on it is, but it's pretty decent. It's like 100, 110 to 115 or something like that, which is considered fairly good. And like, it's 110, it goes to 115 if you remove the spacer that spaces the face gasket out a bit more. If you remove that, you get a wider field of view because it's closer to your face. But then you can't fit corrective lenses in it. So I can't use that because I need to wear glasses or have my VR lenses fitted, and those space it out a bit more. However, I didn't mind that because one of the downsides of the Reverb G2 is, although it's got good field of view, the chromatic aberration of the Fresnel lenses is real. Your periphery is actually completely useless because there's so much chromatic aberration there. So that's the thing. It's just like, you might have amazing FOV, but if you've got chromatic aberration that's splitting it that far apart in the field of your vision, I guess it makes it a little bit more immersive, but you can't see anything out there anyway, so who cares, you know?
To be that guy.
Fresnel, okay, yeah. Fresnel lenses.
I was like, oh, I realise.
Or Fresnel, I think that's what's that implying. Yes. Sorry, Fresnel, yeah. Fresnel lenses, I don't know. Fresnel.
My only problem with these is they're only 90 hertz.
Yeah.
And I would want 120 hertz panels for frame duplicated 60 hertz.
Yes, that's a very fair comment. I was about to say, it depends on what you're doing.
Because obviously 90 is frame duplicated 45.
My perspective is coming from VR chat, which runs like junk on everything. It's terrible.
But I presume it can do 60 some of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means I'd want 60 capacity, but 120 hertz update. Yeah.
So for me, I'm not interested in going past 90 hertz because I struggle to get 90 FPS anyway. But like you say, when you can't do 90, you go down to half with frame duplication. And so at that point, going 120 with 60 hertz frame duplication would be better, because I dropped to 45 FPS with frame duplication, which is very noticeable.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't give you motion sickness because the frame duplication actually works incredibly well.
Yeah.
But you can see it.
But also the case of 45 FPS is actually surprisingly okay.
It's passable.
It's surprisingly okay.
Like, it makes me sad because I have a very fast computer, and 45 FPS should not be acceptable. However, when you're having an immersive experience, this system does a very, very good job of masking the frame rate.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, if you were to reduce down to the 5K, you could then have, I guess, 160 hertz.
Yeah. Does VR look real? So you have to define what looks real actually means, because you've got level of detail and the graphical fidelity, and then you have how immersive it is. Graphical fidelity is kind of something you'll never really win. You can always see that something is a video game, even when it's in VR. But when the thing about VR is how big everything is, and it's difficult to express this without seeing it. You have to see it for yourself. But you can look at a room in a video game. You can look at it on your screen, even if you've got a big monitor. You can look at a room like the lobby for a game you like. Like, for example, one of my first experiences in VR was Phasmophobia, and I'd seen the lobby room for Phasmophobia countless times on screen. And you look at it, and you know it like the back of your hand. You know how big it is. You know how long it takes to walk across. You know, like, based on how big that sofa is, you can tell how big the room is roughly. But when you go into VR, and you're standing in that room in VR, suddenly it seemed life size is so much bigger than a monitor. Like, that kind of seems like an obvious thing to say, but you don't realize it until you see it. Life size is enormous. And when you step into the room and you see it life size, and you're like, wow, this place is huge. But yeah, it's 3 times the length of that sofa. That's what it was on the screen. It's exactly the same as it was. But when you're there and you see it for real and it's life size, you're just like, wow. Wow. And like, that's the first thing I did when I used VR for the first time. I was just like, wow. You know? So, so that's really, and you can say that is a Graham jump scare. You can say that that's a novelty, and the novelty does wear off, but it's still fun. I go to VR meets a couple of times a week now, and it is really amazing to just be in a big room with a bunch of people, interacting with them, and then when you're finished, you take off the headset and you're just back in your living room again. You're like, huh, never left home kind of thing, you know? So that's why I love VR. But again, though, its use is limited, you know.
I still need to use your
the reverb. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Its use is limited, you know. It's a lot of people are just like, oh, VR is the future. I'm like, no. We've been working on it for 10 years and it's still, we're still miles away from it being useful. It's still for novelty experiences. But if you like social environments like VR chat, it's amazing. And if you want to have a really immersive simulator like F1 or something like that, when you put on a VR headset and you sit in the VR and you're in the first time ever that I used a VR headset was years ago. I used what was Oculus called before?
Oculus.
It was always called Oculus.
It was the Oculus demo headset.
Yeah, the Oculus demo, the development headset. I used one of those at a LAN party, and I think we were playing like Project Cars or something or whatever, you know, one of those racing sims. And I was just sitting there with an Xbox controller, but putting it on and just actually being in the car, and like when you go around a corner and the car starts going sideways, you're like, I'm crashing in real time, you know. And it was just like, there's nothing quite like it. There, you know, like I say,
you are experiencing a crash.
You are in danger. Yeah. What's the quote from?
It's iRobot.
Yeah, you're experiencing a crash. Is that what he says? But yeah, you are in danger. You know. But yeah, at any rate, but yeah, there's nothing quite like it. Nothing quite like it.
You're experiencing a car accident. There you go.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
The hell I
am. Yeah. Yeah. But yes. The fact that you're in a different part of the living room facing in an unexpected direction is also slightly startling. That can happen sometimes, but I always have my Guardian visible with an arrow on it because in order to not bump into things, I prefer to have my Guardian visible because I feel infinitely more comfortable always knowing where I am in the room, because otherwise I'm constantly paranoid that I'm about to bump into something in the real world. And like crashing into something is probably the most immersion breaking thing that can happen in VR when you reach out and bang your hand on something. So for me, just having the Guardian always visible with an arrow so I know exactly where I'm standing, I find it much more immersive. Even though you know where you are in the room, I can more easily immerse myself because I'm not paranoid about bumping into something. Because like that's the thing. When I've watched friends and family put on my VR headset, you know, and they try to reach out to them, they're like, am I going to hit something? Am I going to crash into something? You know, like it's fine. Look at the floor. Look at the Guardian line. You know. If that's your gut, you know, the Guardian line, that's the keep-in zone. If you're within those lines, you're not going to touch anything. There's nothing around you. And as soon as you get close to one of those, you're going to see the big wall appear going, do not go further. You're about to walk into something, you know. So yeah, I like the danger. Yeah, that's fair. Another way of doing it, one of my friends says they just have a big rug that fits their room quite well, with a bit of a border around it, and they've set their play space to be exactly that rug. So as soon as they feel their foot go off of that rug, they know that they're moving out of their play space.
Yeah.
So then they don't need to have the Guardian visible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a neat idea. I might do something like that. But I'm going to try it because also, like, sometimes the Guardian is a nuisance and just constantly in the way. Like, I have a beanbag at the side of my room, and if I'm sitting in my beanbag, the Guardian is flashing behind my head, kind of thing, because it's at the side of the room, you know. So yeah. Can VR help with depression? It depends. It depends what's depressing you. If you want social interaction but you don't want to go outside, yeah. But yes.
Indeed.
I can talk about this subject for a long time because it fascinates me and I like it. But yeah.
Yeah. I want to know what good VR headsets there are. Ultimately is the thing.
The problem is it's difficult to find people who really know because there's not a lot of people who have actually tried them all because that's an expensive hobby kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, I do have a friend who has gone through a lot of VR headsets because he seems to have a lot of money and is just genuinely trying to get the best possible VR experience he can.
Yeah.
So I'll have to say to him, dude, have you used the Vive Pro? Because
specifically
the Vive Pro 2.
Because I understand the Pro not being good anymore because it's like 2016 or something.
Yeah, because the Vive Pro 2, like the specs on that seems fine, and the price on it is just like, I mean, that's how much the Index costs, and the Index has been the darling of the VR community for a long time.
Yeah, and it's also just a case of it's like, you know, limited experience, but obviously just general HTC bias.
Yeah, fair enough. Take him out of HTC, but you can't take the HTC out of him. But yeah. But what was the one thing I was going to say? Yeah, I'll ask my friend about it. But yeah, a lot of people just haven't used that many headsets and can't attest to it. You know, my grand experience is a Rift S and my Reverb G2.
Yeah, and the Cosmos that I
briefly,
had. Yeah, just a little bit of looking at that and just kind of going, oh yes, this is a step up from the Rift S, but also...
I was too green to that to know what to look for. Whereas, like, going to the Reverb G2 was a really fascinating experience because the displays on it were an order of magnitude superior. I went, like, with my Rift S, I could use my Rift S without my glasses because the quality of the screen was the limiting factor. When I went to my Reverb G2, suddenly I was like, you know, I put it on. I wasn't super impressed. I was like, oh, it's because my vision is blurred because I don't have my glasses on. I can't see the quality of this because my eyesight isn't good enough, you know. So suddenly I had to get corrective lenses for it to actually get the most out of it. But the controllers for the Reverb G2 are garbage.
Can you use different controllers?
Awful. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of choice because...
because the controller's handled by the headset, isn't it?
So there's certain headsets will, like, if you've got, say, a Quest 2, there's probably a couple of different controllers you could use within the Quest ecosystem.
And I think with the Vive you can use the Index controllers, and with the Index you can use the Vive controllers because the Index is HTC.
That's right. And in addition to that, these are outside in with Lighthouse headsets. So because the trackers are talking to the Lighthouses anyway, it's not an issue. But because the Reverb is an inside out headset and you've got no Lighthouses, suddenly the controllers need to be actually compatible with the headset.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, one of my friends has an Index and his Index is busted because it's sitting on the chair next to us. And I sent him my Rift S because he wouldn't be able to talk to loads of his American friends on VR chat. And I was like, I'm sending you my Rift S. And he's like, thanks, man. I'm like, it's sitting in a box and you can't talk to your friends. So he's using a Rift S with his Steam, with his Index controllers because he's still got the Lighthouses. The Rift S isn't talking to the Lighthouses, but he can use the good controllers. However, the Reverb controllers are hot garbage. They're genuinely awful.
Yeah.
However, for my use case, they're fit for purpose. But even compared to the Rift S, which is an ancient headset, the Rift S controllers were an order of magnitude superior. So yeah. But the HMD on the Reverb G2 is very good, which is what most people consider. It's a good one for simulator setups, because on a simulator setup, you don't need controllers.
Yeah.
You're using a wheel or a flight yoke or something like that.
Yeah. Do you need controllers
Not technically, no.
for like VR chat?
Yes, because those are your hands.
But you could just replace them with a
tracker. Yes,
with a tracker on your wrist.
You could put a tracker on your hands. Because, like, incidentally, like I've been to live music. I've been to live DJ sets in VR chat where you'll have a DJ who in real life has a mixing deck in front of him, and in the VR chat world that has got a mixing deck in front of him. So he's doing the thing, and what you see him doing in the world is rough approximation of what he's doing in real life. And what they actually...
How small can you make these trackers?
Well, as I say, I can get them down to about that, which will fit on the back of your hand.
You could just about.
People are making physical finger controllers, yeah. Like, typically in those setups, what they will actually have is they'll have a glove on that has a strap that's holding the concontroller above their hand.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing.
The ones I've seen have basically a flex on the back of the finger going back to a central controller, and then it measures the flex.
Yeah.
So it can then do that on all of the digits.
People are making custom gloves and stuff like that. It's real. There's just not really anything in the way of...
Custom gloves?
Yeah.
I mean...
Got around, have a good day. See you, William. Thanks for dropping by.
Yes.
But yeah, there's certainly there's lots of projects out there. Like I was talking to a dude in VR chat last night who was just like, oh yeah, I've got a haptic feedback vest. Don't have it on at the moment, but I've got one of the haptic feedback vests.
Oh, nice.
Those exist, and apparently they're amazing.
Yeah.
And I think though, like, I can't remember what game it was, but recently there was some game announced. I think weirdly it was like Assassin's Creed or something like that, where you're like, Assassin's Creed in VR? Are you sure? But yeah, they released. They're releasing that with a official Assassin's Creed haptic vest, and that product already exists. They've just rebranded it, but that is a mainstream game adopting a very niche piece of equipment here, which is pushing these kinds of accessories into the mainstream.
Yeah,
which is where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Power Glove, but not bad. Yeah, basically. So yeah.
But I am interested in buying just the headset, just a Vive Pro 2 headset on its own. Yeah. It's like 440 quid for assuming it is a decent headset.
I think you will still need lighthouses for it though, or at least a lighthouse, because in order for it to know where it is in space, it needs a lighthouse.
Oh, I see. Will it?
Yeah, even if you're not using the play space.
Interesting. Does it not have? I would have assumed that head movement like that would have been done gyroscopically as well.
Yes, but it needs to have an absolute position in order to not drift. And the lighthouse is its absolute position.
True.
So yeah, in the same way that an inside-out headset like my Reverb is using the cameras and camera imaging for absolute positioning. It has 6 degrees of freedom to do motion and stuff like that, but it's still using the cameras to know absolutely where it is.
Yeah, true.
You will still need a lighthouse. You might only need one if you're doing a sim setup.
Yeah.
But you will still need a lighthouse.
That's true.
Even if you're not doing play space. So, but you could buy one of those in a second-hand compatible lighthouse that, because the older lighthouses have less accuracy on them and stuff like that, but you might not need a lot of accuracy for a sim setup. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure, because that's the thing. It's just a case of, this is why a lot of people like using, because the Quest 2 is a popular sim headset because you can just have a USB-C cable going to it, and you can make them super lightweight. You can just have a HMD and a strap.
I've never had a problem with the weight of the Cosmos.
No, neither me. But then on the flip side, I've never tried out a lightweight headset. I've seen some people who run what they call Franken-quests, where they've literally stripped out all of the plastics and everything and done weight reduction to the point where they have what are almost VR goggles.
That's cool.
Minus, and then they're just powering it off a power bank that's in their pocket, which takes the weight off of their head.
Yeah.
So yeah. Have you heard anything about the Apple AR headset? I don't know why it exists. I think it exists because Apple feel like they need to get a product out there, so they exist in this space. However, It's bad and no one should buy it. There is no reason for it to exist.
Is it bad though? Have we actually seen that it's bad?
I mean, okay,
when was the last time that Apple actually released bad hardware?
The quality of the display is good. Apparently, it's very heavy because it's made of metal and glass. So which is bad for something they're expecting you to wear all the time. Yeah. And also, that's going to be a lot of front weight because it's got an elastic band for the head strap, whereas most other heavy headsets, like the Valve Index, is considered to be a heavy headset, but because that's got a plastic headband, that's pushing some of the weight onto the back of your head to balance it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Apple one won't because it's elastic strap. The battery life on it is garbage, even with a massive hecking power bank you've got to carry in your pocket. It's like 2 hours on battery or something like that.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Their biggest, and this leads into the fact of there's nothing it does. You can use it to browse the internet and talk to people, but no one's going to do that. They're going to look at a screen. You can use it to watch a movie, except the battery life can't last the length of a feature-length movie. And it's just, and it's $3,500. It's just no. Just no, all of the no. So yeah, there's some interesting tech in it in terms of apparently it's tap ability where it detects your fingers to tap and stuff like that. It's kind of neat, but there are no controllers, which means you can't use a keyboard. You cannot do text input. It's voice only, which means you have to speak to it to do text input. And based on what I've heard, some of the tech, like the tapping and the screen quality is very good. That's all top notch. That kind of goes without saying. It's Apple, like you say. They're not going to make a quote unquote bad product. But what's it for? What's it good for? What's it good at that other headsets, a fraction of the price, can't do better? That seems to be the problem with it.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
So
sorry, I was trying to. I couldn't work out if this was a headset or if it's like a Quest
standalone
thing. Yeah, it's a standalone thing. Therefore, I'm not interested.
Yeah. For keyboard use, it has visual pass-through. So I'm going to use it while I'm sitting at a desk. So do I now have to be in front of a desk, or am I going to have a keyboard on my lap? And also, visual pass-through. Apparently, the visual pass-through on it is pretty good, but it's still. Again, it's just if you're using a physical keyboard, I don't know, man. Just sit at a desk with a keyboard. I don't get it. But that's the question: is who is this aimed at? Then it's not. It's clearly not aimed at me because my use case, which is like VR chat and stuff like that, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You can't even run VR chat. It doesn't have apps. You cannot run apps on it. There are no apps. You browse the internet and you do FaceTime. That's it. That's all it does. You watch movies, you browse the internet, and you do FaceTime. For £3,500. So yeah, that's kind of it. And so, again, what do you use it for? I cannot believe with a straight face that it is a good internet browsing experience, because when I'm in VR chat and I bring up my virtual desktop to check Discord, I have to, even with a good screen and corrective lenses and everything, I'm having to look, I have to bring up my virtual desktop and go to read things and stuff like that. It's you can do it, but it's not better than sitting in front of a monitor, not by a long shot.
Yeah.
It is not a replacement for a monitor.
And I don't know.
This is the thing. I don't understand.
48-inch 4K TVs exist.
Yeah. And
I don't quite know how you'd VESA mount them or VESA mount them.
Yeah.
But you could, I'm sure, come up with a mounting arrangement that puts two 48-inch monitors up here, two standard monitors here, so you've got big space you can just drop stuff up into, and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I think as a product, like the level of polish on it and everything will doubtless be amazing. The screens on it will be amazing. There's
And
no doubt. I'm sure it's very comfortable,
I
but
am sure that
I
there
just
will
don't
be a
understand why it
use.
exists.
I'm sure there will be a use for it because Apple never release a product until there's a use for it.
I think they're beta testing, anticipating a use for it.
Yeah, and to a degree though, look at what they did with the iPad.
But there were apps for that at least.
Yeah.
And there was a use
but
case.
that's what I'm kind of saying. Look at the iPad. The iPad was late to the party, but
Mm.
became the de facto tablet.
Yeah.
The iPhone was late to the smartphone party, but became the de facto style of smartphone. So I am assuming, based purely off of that, we will see a similar thing for its niche, but I think this will be a niche instead of a super mass market product.
Yeah.
And I think we'll turn around and go, those were use cases I could not have even dreamed of.
I certainly believe that.
I think that's what it's going to be, is we're going to see them used for things where we couldn't even have dreamt of them being used, but suddenly we go, oh wow, actually that does kind of make sense.
So yeah, I could believe that can happen. I don't think that's going to be for another 10 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I've no idea.
Yeah, I 5 to 10 years, 5 to 10 years at best before we get there. And so if Apple is starting early, yeah, that makes sense. However, does that mean that the Apple VR headset, I can't remember what it's called, the View, whatever it's called, at face value, that is coming out next year or whatever it is, £3,500 dollars, should you buy it? No, absolutely not. One day it might suddenly be useful and the standard. However, at least the first the first generation or two will not be that. The Vision Pro, and just there's so much about a lot of
spatial computing.
Like when you watch their intro video, there is a lot of stuff where you're like, this looks very cool and very futuristic. But when you've used VR, you look at that and you're like, that's not how VR works or how you use it at all.
Seriously, how is this blending with my?
Because you've got pass-through with virtual stuff overlaid.
But what's that doing for me?
Yeah, this is my point. Why is this better than sitting in front of a monitor? It's not.
I'm also forced to use this is all iPad.
Yeah. And remember, you don't have a mouse. Everything is by eye tracking. And you don't have a keyboard.
Or hand tracking, based off of that video, because she's doing hand gestures.
Yeah.
So apparently it's got hand tracking.
Which now means I have to wave my hands around all the time. Remember how touchscreens were going to be the future? And no one uses them on a desktop. Mobile is the only place where touchscreen is used because gorilla arm syndrome. And like you see people doing the little flicks and stuff like that. I'm just like, nah, mate. I'm not being a hater, but I don't see it. I don't see it at all. And I guess that makes me a hater, but no. I could believe that one day they're going to develop this into something useful, or rather, the general public will reach a point where they find this useful. But we're years away from it. VR is already a niche within the computer enthusiast community. And part of me finds this very weird because, like, look at Meta and the failure of Meta Horizons and the metaverse.
What the hell's Meta Horizons?
You know the Facebook metaverse, their VR world,
right?
Which is called Horizons.
Oh, okay.
The metaverse, Meta the company.
Yes.
Their metaverse, because metaverse is a thing, like not a metaverse. It describes a virtual world per se. Meta's metaverse is called Horizons. Good job. And it has been a monumental failure. It's a terrible product that has cost billions of dollars that no one wants because Meta thinks that the average Facebook user is going to buy a headset and live in the virtual world. Which, before you even talk about whether Horizons is actually any good or not, the idea that the average Facebook user is going to buy a Quest and live in a virtual world is asinine.
I'm deciding on snide comments or not. I mean, you look at the average Facebook user and wonder whether they're living in the real world.
Sorry, say that again. I was reading chat at the same time you spoke there, and then my brain shut down.
I said,
yeah.
You look at the average Facebook user
yeah.
and wonder if they are living in the real world.
True, yes.
So providing them with a VR headset to live in that fabricated existence isn't that much of a stretch.
Har har, yeah. Yeah, people like my mum but rich, people can use a phone but not a computer. You reckon she's going to be able to use a VR headset and like want to use a VR headset and use voice and use gestures and stuff like that? I mean, if she can use an iPad, sure, maybe. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it's kind of a case.
Yeah.
That I don't see how it makes it better. But obviously, I'm also looking at it from the point of view of if you ask a customer what they want, they'll ask for a faster horse. They won't come up with a car. They'll ask for a faster horse.
I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. You loved Facebook, love. I remember a time where Facebook was my life as well. Like slight tangent, but just it's strange to me that Facebook used to be something that I spent so much time. It's another one of those social platforms that has come and gone in my eyes. You know.
Yeah. It never worked for me. It never worked for me because I never had anyone for it to work with me with. Work for me with. Yeah, I don't know, and it was kind of a case of what Facebook was 2006 to 2014, about that sort of period.
Yeah, I would say later than 2014. I mean, you ducked out a lot earlier than I did, but
I ducked out. Yeah, but what was I using before then? I would have been using Skype, and MSN Live Messenger would have been dead by then.
Marcus said, "Where should I be? Where should I be then, if not for Facebook?" Well, to a certain extent, more instantaneous social media, I think, surpassed Facebook. So by that, I mean Twitter, and then Instagram, and I guess TikTok to an extent. But you know, Instagram to an extent, TikTok now we're moving away from what the social media is, because Instagram is less about sharing what's happening in your life. It's less microblogging and more making some kind of short form video content. So yeah, but anyway,
TikTok is
yeah. So yeah, Instagram has a bit more of that going for it. For me though, the answer to that is Discord. Discord was the death knell of Facebook for me, because on Facebook, you had people, but on Discord, suddenly now you were joining servers with groups of people who were exactly based on your interests and who you spoke to and talked to about your interests.
Discord servers are Facebook groups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Discord servers are Facebook groups.
Because I've been asked by several people to explain Discord.
Yeah.
And I couldn't give a computer space analogy to it. It's an X on Y platform.
Yeah.
It's Y on Z platform kind of thing. Those features. But yeah, I was like, oh no, someone who kind of gets Facebook. A Discord server is like a Facebook group, but it is fully closed to anyone who isn't in it.
Yeah.
You have to have joined to see any of it.
Yep. And because it's in a chat room format, there is no algorithm. Because it was Discord and the Facebook algorithm that forced me off of Facebook. Discord provided me with an alternative, and the Facebook algorithm drove me away, because I hate algorithmically supplied content, because nothing is in order. So which means nothing makes sense. you'll see something that happened yesterday, and then after that, you'll see something that happened today. And you're like, but just the fact that it's not chronological just breaks my head. And obviously, it's like on Twitter, if you see a reply to something, it might be a reply to something that happened previously. But because it's a reply, there is the context there. And like this happens to me now and then, because like Twitter has been playing silly beggars on mobile, where it's now automatically switching you back to the algorithm view every time you open the app. And I now and then I won't notice, and I'll start scrolling through, and I'm like, who are these people? I don't know this person, and I saw this like 3 days ago. Why am I seeing it again? And then I realize that I'm on the algorithmic feed. And I immediately go back to chronological view, and suddenly my world makes sense again. But yeah,
the only thing I've noticed by not being on Twitter since February, is that when they broke the third-party APIs? I can't remember.
Pass. I didn't have a horse in that race.
February, I think. The only thing I have missed from not being on there is the fact that I've completely missed all of the new mobile phone launches and reviews. All of them. Completely missed all of them.
Yeah.
And like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I did get a Blue Sky invite today, which I'm using on which I'm using from my art account, just because that's my heaviest account where I most use Twitter, because I heavily use Twitter for following independent artists and stuff like that, which was my biggest beef with like not wanting to get rid of Twitter, because I'm like, that's how I follow a lot of artists that I don't share a Discord server with, because you can't be in every Discord server.
Yeah.
And Twitter was a good supplement for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a B-Sky invite. So it's going to be a while before my for Adamant IT and my NethSM account will be there, because now I need to wait for that new account to generate some invite codes that I can then give to my other accounts. But B-Sky looks like an improved version of Twitter from a mechanical standpoint. The website just feels slicker, and it works just like Twitter, but just the website is just like, oh, this just works nicer. There's fewer refreshes, and like it's snappier, it's responsive. It's just everything has been tightened up slightly, and the filtering actually works. So yeah. So yeah, early days. I only got it this morning, but yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what happens, because a lot of people are very bored of Twitter, but no one's really done the big jump ship yet. So, however,
I'm surprised by the number of media platforms that still say and contact us on Twitter. I am surprised.
Yeah.
That basically no one stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some guys at work, they sit on TikTok with their earbuds on, so we all sit in silence. Yeah, I try not to do stuff when there's other people about, unless, it depends. It depends if it's supposed to be sociable or not, but TikTok and short-form video content isn't my cup of tea. I think short-form video content, there are some uses for it, but as a short-form video content, this is all you're looking at, is a bad thing. I'm not going to go into the details, because I could talk for an hour about why I think it's bad, and we should wrap up. But I don't like TikTok, and I don't like YouTube Shorts. There is a time and a place for making a 60-second video, and you can have a conversation about how making a 60-second video is very interesting, because you've got to put you need to cram that information. You need to get right to the point, deliver your information within 60 seconds, which is interesting. However, as an entire platform of just that, I think it's a bad thing, because it's just a stream of nonsense, and the human brain can only absorb so much information at a time. So you go to the bathroom and you watch 20 TikToks while you're there. How many of them do you actually remember? How many of them actually teach you something that actually lands? By the time you've watched the 20th one, can you remember what the first one even was? Or are you just staring at your phone screen now? And I'm not going to be that guy that's just like, her phone's bad, stop looking at screens, because I do that all the time. Hell, I go to VR chat, but there needs to be, you have to ask yourself, is there value and enrichment in the content that I am mindlessly consuming? Is this actually enriching me? Or am I just staring at a screen? And like now and then I watch some content that I watch just because sometimes you just kind of want to switch off. But there needs to be a certain percentage of that.
So, riddle me this. What is the enrichment in education provided by the latest blockbuster movie that one will sit and watch for 2.5 hours?
Depends which one it is, I guess.
Is it because it's 2.5 hours long that it becomes okay?
Well, I think movies should be 2 hours tops. I think when a movie goes past 2 hours, I think they're on borrowed time at that point. Yeah, that could be a thing. But also, like, going to see a movie is kind of an event kind of thing. But when it's stuff that you're just watching on your phone all the time, or just sitting in front of your computer scrolling in the evenings, mindlessly scrolling and stuff like that, when you could be doing something, I think that's different. I think sitting down and committing to watching a movie, I think that is an experience. We can have an argument over some movies being mindless drivel, but I don't think that qualifies for the problem I'm explaining, because that's still something that you sit down and watch kind of thing. Whereas, short form content, like I say, you watch 20 YouTube shorts while you're on the throne. Do you remember what the first 5 of them were? Hell, even just the first one, did any of that actually sink in? I don't know. So yeah, what about the 3-hour live stream? I want these live streams to be 2 hours long, but here we are. Like, unironically, I don't like the show being this long, because I find like with the WAN show runs for 4 hours these days. I'm like, bitch, I ain't sitting through all of that. Yet here I am making 3-hour plus live streams every weekend. So I don't know, man. So, but for that reason, it's just like now and then when someone's just like, that Two Guys Talk Tech is too long and too much waffle, I'm like, that's cool, man. I'm not offended.
Yeah.
However, sometimes it be that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, it's a case of at no point did we ever say it was anything other than the two of us talking about whatever topics came up.
Pretty much. I think that's kind of how I justify it, The original premise of the show was just, we're going to talk about tech and we'll do it in front of a camera because maybe other people will find our opinions interesting. So yeah. Adding the live stream to the YouTube podcast, yeah, can do it automatically.
Those were words.
Yes, sorry, I didn't understand a word of that, Mike.
If you spend 20 minutes on the throne, you have bigger problems than YouTube Shorts. Yes.
Oh, I see. YouTube Podcasts is a service, and you can add the live stream so they are hosted as audible podcasts on YouTube Podcasts. Interesting. Could do that, yeah. Like from day one, people have been asking for an audio version of it. Maybe. Part of me feels like our content isn't good for audio only, because a lot of it is visual. We're looking at stuff. And so, but, I don't know. If it can do it automatically, we could just set that up and people like it, they like it,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I have enjoyed this conversation in English.
Absolutely. This has been a conversation. It has been in English.
And sometimes acronyms.
Hopefully there has been enjoyment.
There has been a red dawn. Thank you very much for... Next Saturday. Something.
Be here.
Or be square, whatever.
Join the Twitch. Visit the Discord. Subscribe to the comments. Goodbye.
Oh no! What? Please tell me it stopped the stream. Hang on a sec. Before you do this. Okay, while I'm doing this, just check the chat. Are we still live?
Are we still live?
Are we still live? We clicked stop stream, and YouTube has said, verify it's still you. I have to log in to stop the stream. if we are still live. Yes, you are live. Yeah. You can't leave. I mean, we could hit stop streaming in OBS, but whatever.
Please super chat now to end the stream.
Yeah. It ends when you let it end. It is not a question of who will let us, but who will stop us.